What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 9 OK Chapter 181 Impure World Reincarnation, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Super God Luo Tianzheng is invalid. Nagato stood in the air silently looking at the man below. Master is struggling, he heard the same sentence twice. Immunity, hard resistance? He analyzed this last time. The conclusion is that the opponent used his body to resist Shinra Tianzheng and Universal Pull. But this time, he found something different. When the opponent's light blue eyes appeared, Rinnegan instinctively felt the hostility and provocation, and that emotion came into his mind from the eyes, making his look even more alive. This sentiment was something that was not felt in the face of Sharingan or even Mangekyo Sharingan. There is no doubt that if he guessed correctly, the opponent's eyes are also the eyes of God. Looked at his hand. An angry Nagato fell rapidly from the sky and slapped to the ground fiercely. You once told me that this world only needs one god. The speed increased, and the second Super Shenluo Tianzheng was completed on the way of landing, under the condition of consuming huge vitality. Compared with Shenluo Tianzheng's super strong defense without dead ends, all the repulsive force this time was concentrated on the hand, tilting all the chakra and power on one point. This is his new power when he uses the power of heaven. It is still the super god Luo Tianzheng. Penetration and repulsion are completely different from using in the air. Speed up again. Nagato's final attack hit Bajin fiercely. Feel the pain. Know the pain. This is the pain that God bestows on the sun, a pain that mortals can't understand. Shenluo Tianzheng. Blow down. The earth trembled again, and the ring in the middle of the entire central tower began to sink. But this time, they could see clearly. The man standing there, drinking, remained motionless. There is a substantially transparent enchantment on the edge of the inserting table, and it has not been affected by half. Absolutely in control. The greater the power gap, the stronger this ability to control. Obviously, even if the Nagato at this moment contains multiple cells that do not belong to him, it is still not Bajin's opponent. Enough. Sigh softly. The man stretched out his hand and pinched the neck of Nagato, who was still consuming chakra crazily, stuck in front of him. These eyes do not belong to you. The greatest effect. The eyes don't belong to me. Nagato's body was one, and an arm stretched out from his neck. At this moment, Nagato gathers all the abilities of Pen's 6 paths in one body. But this kind of collection is by no means weakening, but strengthening. You can think of Itachi and Nagato being resurrected during the Fourth Ninja War, and then rushing to the battlefield with the scene of Naruto fighting Killer Bee. Only Nagato himself, after absorbing the chakra of 8 tails with the hungry Kido, almost immediately lost the golden Naruto and Killer Bee. Even one hand fired a cannon and the other hand grabbed Naruto's soul and pulled it out. If it wasn't for Itachi to use distinguished heavenly gods to break free from the shackles of turning oxen from dirty soil, I'm afraid Naruto's at that time. The soul has been caught out of the body. But it's not ruled out that 9 tails will help Naruto when it comes to a real fairy fox mode. But from this record alone, we can analyze how strong Nagato is in a healthy state. Rinnegan's humanity. It is also a means to attack the soul. Of course, this ability has a limit. That is, when facing a subject whose chakra amount is significantly higher than that of their own, they cannot immediately use pull the soul out. Especially what he faced was even more ridiculous in front of Bajin. He is Shinigami. No one else can control the soul of Shinigami. Take your hand away, thank you. Taking a look at the arm holding his body, Bajin said lightly. The next moment the golden skull comes out. Appeared. That Jin Dun chakra mode who defeated the old man. Ying in the stands suddenly stood up with excitement, and the electricity on his body couldn't stop rising outwards. Please be quiet, please. Minato reluctantly pulled him back to his seat. I asked Bajin about this trick, it's not an escape. Quote, surgery. You can think of him as a kind of self-defense posture. But so far, I don't know any way to successfully penetrate his defense. Substantiated Reiatsu defense. The stronger the Reiatsu, the stronger the defense. That is a power that ninjas cannot understand. Damn, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't expect genin fights to be so interesting. Just genin, brother, you just woke up? That's Konoha Kenpachi, he said he is the strongest in the ninja world. Can't bear it too much. That's right, but the kid in Yin village is also very fierce, shouting to sell rice. Of course, such a big pit can be smashed. Indeed, Konoha's visit this time is really not in vain. The spectators around were very addicted. One after another gave their thumbs to the two on the court. Strong, Kenpachi. Strong Uzumaki Nagato. It's not in vain to see this level of battle in this life. But you have to say they're genin. Well, Konoha's strongest is genin, the old man remembered that. It's me. The golden skeleton violently shattered Nagato's human arm, and even wanted to suck. Kido, who received chakra's hunger, was also killed in seconds. Shaking his stiff neck, Bajin grabbed the arm of Nagato's neck and slammed it against the ground. Blow down. The shock hit again. The weather-beaten Mother Earth trembled angrily. Even if this kind of jitter is not once or twice today, it is especially difficult for Mother Earth to withstand this time. Even more violent than the two previous tremors, what a power this is. What is even more shocking is that the attack has obviously just begun. It is not Bajian's purpose to press Nagato on the ground. Lifting one's head high and falling down with the man's roar instantly, the shock struck again. I let you sell rice. Blow down. Konoha doesn't eat cheap rice, lousy has its own food street. Blow down. Sell your mother to sell in batches. Blow down. Who is disgusting with Hashirama cells? Blow down. If you give you a chance, you won't be useful. Blow down. With every punch down, the shock will always rise again. Fortunately, the Anbu ninjas prepared earlier have already begun to strengthen the stability of the central tower. Otherwise, just relying on the aftershocks of Mother Earth, I am afraid that the tower will also collapse. Rao is so, the strong sense of shock makes people cling to the handrail next to it. At this moment, they have a new level of understanding of Konoha Kenpachi's combat effectiveness. No way. It's really a useless piece. At the center of the viewing seat, Orochimaru murmured and looked at Kabuto in the distance and nodded slowly. Kabuto took a few steps back and started to seal his hands. Illusion. Nirvana abode technique. With a low cry, when feathers began to fall in the air, a figure had already rushed to his. A punch came in front of him. Look at something wrong with your kid. Boom. Weird power. This is. Tsunade is here. Kabuto, who was hit in the abdomen, almost fainted with his eyes rolled. Failed? Orochimaru struggled to look back. Thousands of calculations, Kabuto's illusion has failed. Nagato has been abandoned and can't exert its power at all. Planetary devastation hasn't even had the chance to keep being. Pressed on the ground and rubbed wildly. It seems that we have reached that point. Orochimaru gritted his teeth, just about to move. A hand has grabbed his arm. Where are you going? Orochimaru. The old man next to him looked calm, and just looked at him indifferently. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, he actually saw through me. The old man is not the kind of old man who likes to take advantage of women. Smoking a cigarette, third generation said, Mr. Sarutobi, why'd I disagree with you saying this? Suddenly Orochimaru's tongue stuck out the old man, his hideous look seemed flat and he didn't regard Sarutobi Hiruzen as. Going on. Your 3 apprentices, but they're very good. The title of Konoha Yellow, Gambling and Poisoning, I am afraid that has long been known in the world of ninja. Konoha Yellow Gambling Drugs? The ninjas around burst into laughter. This title really has a personality. They didn't know what was going on, they still looked at it all with an optimistic attitude. If you like to hold on, let you hold on. After all, your dear apprentice is a woman now and wants you to calculate. You try a young body? My body is stronger than Lake Biwa. The crazy Orochimaru suddenly started to talk nonsense. The meaning of the words made Sarutobi blush for a while. Shit, why is it so exciting to think about it? With both feet hard, their bodies suddenly rushed towards the high platform. The next moment, the 4 beams of light immediately surrounded Sarutobi and Orochimaru. Ninfa, 4 purple flame formations. The real master-disciple showdown has begun. The scene began to become chaotic, and countless white Zetsu and Otoyuki village ninjas who emerged from nowhere suddenly. Then he rushed over and started an attack. Konoha collapse plan, begin. Has it begun? The shadows of the 5 great ninja villages in front of them all looked at the 4 purple flame formations. It seems that the security of your village is a problem. What is your confidence in saying this? Minato glanced at him suspiciously, and pointed his finger on the field. The storm came more suddenly than expected, but after all, it couldn't make a big storm. The ninjas of Anbu changed in a few moments, and the ninjas of Otogakura and White Zetsu who rushed over began to fight. Kill, and in the village, there are countless figures rushing out, facing the ferocious snake. You have endured a lot of big winds and waves, why do you panic in such small scenes? Looking back at Onogi with a sunny smile, Minato asked rhetorically. The miscellaneous fish have not been solved yet, and your 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen seems to have encountered a free. Difficult. Why don't people say what you can't do? I also stood up appropriately to keep up with Onogi's rhythm. Wow. But as soon as I's words fell, the 4 purple flame formations above it unexpectedly exploded. The group of 4 in Yin village also flew out. That is the blade light from the bottom. Obviously, the battle between Uzumaki Nagato and Yi Bajian is over. Listen well, Chunan's exam is going on. The next set of Sasuke's red bronze armor is hurriedly. The ninjas who came to watch the ceremony were all dumbfounded. You Konoha have changed so much, the exam will continue? Didn't you see that your 3rd Hokage is in deep crisis? And how do you think your village is now in battle? Still organizing a game leisurely. What is surprising is that the boy named Uchiha Sasuke jumped out of the hollow of the ring calmly, waiting for his opponent. Nothing else. Just because that was what his master said. So, the game continues. At this moment, the battle above and the battle below seem to have nothing to do with each other. But people can see that it is definitely more exciting at the top. The non-human man carrying Uzumaki Nagato has flown to the destroyed 4 purple flame formation area. In front of him, Sarutobi and Orochimaru are facing each other. The 4 Zeon formations really couldn't stop this man. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi and Bajien coldly, swish. Several figures also fell aside, all members of the Night Owl team, plus 5 shadows. Of course, except for Minato and 5 shadows, everyone else obviously joins in the fun. Even Terumi Mei winked mischievously at Bajien. Orochimaru, what are you going to do? Jiraiya was the first to speak obviously, he didn't want to see such a scene. He was very happy that Orochimaru did not die in Rain Shinobi village, but now, he actually ran over to destroy Konoha.
Why, Konoha with Bajien, why do you want to destroy it?
Do you have that strength? Do what? Orochimaru smiled, and directly summoned 2 shadow clones and began to seal quickly, just make a break. This is... Seeing Orochimaru's seal, Sarutobi was taken aback for a while and rushed over, but just after walking a few steps, a space Uzumaki suddenly appeared in front of him. 2 figures slowly appeared, Obito and Black Zetsu. They blocked Sarutobi's way. It's too late. Summoning technique. Impure world reincarnation. The 3 coffins slowly rose in front of everyone. The technique of resurrecting the dead, you unexpectedly. Sarutobi was heartbroken, but his heart was full of wonder. Why didn't Yi Bajien stop Orochimaru? 3 coffins? Everything that should have come is here. Black Zetsu and Obito are here. This is something he didn't expect. The Chunin exam is very much like the 5 shadows talk in the original book. Touching his chin, Bajien kicked Nagato aside and moved out of the stool to sit on it, then stretched out his finger to point to the coffin. Who is there? Miss Snake, who are you going to resurrect to please me? Saw, you deserve it, Bajien-kun. I didn't even feel surprised when I saw the dirty soil turn a cow. Orochimaru had danger and pride in his eyes. First of all, I want to introduce this technique, but also to please Bajien-kun you. The original Impure World reincarnation is not perfect, and the summoned combat power will be extremely insufficient due to sacrifices. This time, I added 90% Senju Hashirama cells to all sacrifices. So the resurrected person will be infinitely close to its original combat effectiveness. After a pause, Orochimaru pointed to the first coffin. He, coming from Sengoku, is a rare talent of the Senju family. The first-hand water style is comparable to the sea. Even where there is no water, you can still use the powerful water style. Senju Tobarama, Bajien-kun you hailed as the most qualified Naruto in history. Boom. The coffin board exploded, and a man with a bewildered face but full of murderous intent came out. The forehead protector limits his appearance, but it can be seen from the sharp eyes. He is a strong man. It turned out to be the second Hokage. The shadows and leaders of the major ninja villages began to whisper. That's a legendary character. The next one is even more amazing. Holding the seal with one hand, Senju Tobarama guarded his flank tightly, and Orochimaru pointed to the second coffin excitedly. The legendary god of ninjas, Konoha's first Hokage. One-handed wood style is superb, chakra is comparable to a tail beast. Senju Hashirama. Blast down. The coffin board exploded. A big man who walked out scratching his head looked around suspiciously. Huh? Monkey? You are getting old too. Why is this force out of control? When first generation came out, Orochimaru's expression suddenly changed and suddenly he remembered a very serious question. Use Senju Hashirama's cells to control Senju Hashirama? Did this fail? Talking about endlessly, boom? After listening for a long time, it turned out to be Impure World reincarnation. This time, after the coffin board burst, there was a strange white smoke. It can be seen that he couldn't wait to come out and kick the coffin board to pieces. And just when this man came out, an old man in 5 shadows suddenly took a few steps back and sweated. He is Uchiha Madara. Chaos is coming. Everyone stood up listening to Onoki's roar. Uchiha Madara. Senju Tobarama Senju Hashirama 3 people close to 100% strength. Is it all Orochimaru's whole cards? The eyes of the shadows flickered. Wandering back and forth between Bajien and these 3 people. They seemed to be making some kind of decision, but Orochimaru's face was terribly green. When Senju Tobarama came out, he was very excited. But when Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara came out, he found he was wrong. It's so big, Hashi Num, when the 2 resurrected enemies collided together. Orochimaru's head hurts when the chakra wind blows. The scene is even more chaotic, especially when a man suddenly stood between the 2 and pulled out Zanpakuto with his shoulders. Orochimaru knew. Let you do everything you can to please me. The plan this time has completely failed. That's it. Ryatsu skyrocketed. At this moment, some people feel the shock and fear from the heart. Toughly separating Uchiha Madara from Senju Hashirama, Bajien's Zanpakuto points directly to Orochimaru. Yi Bajien, that's it? On this level, Laozi is going to play 10 Uchiha Madara, 10 Senju Hashirama. Curse. For an instant, Senju Hashirama, the god of ninjas, and Uchiha Madara, the giant wall of the Uchiha clan, stared at Yi Bajien. How many do you want to fight? On the battlefield below, Gaara, who was standing on the ground, glanced at the sky and at the underground. Finally sighed. He suddenly felt that the one tail in his body was not fragrant anymore. Several thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 182 The Gravel is not as good as me. It's night. The atmosphere of the central tower in the Konoha Death Forest looked very strange under the cover of night. Above the diamond-shaped tower, standing are giants of the ninja world, who are basically elites with faces and figures. The ones standing at the bottom were somehow Genin carved them as spectators. The Chunin exam is still being conducted systematically. We're going to raise the second game. After the battle, I looked at the top of my head, and the second pillar was a little confused. I always feel that he should go up at this critical moment. Yes, there is also Naruto who has the same idea, touching his chin in the distance and looking awkward. The atmosphere on the top is so weird. The battle begins. Moonlight Gust scratched his head, facing Sasuke and Kai. Tong Ja beckoned, indicating that they can start. It's not just Sasuke who is confused. I don't know why the red bronze armor. He was originally the undercover agent of Orochimaru in Otogyo village, but now that Konoha's collapse plan has started, is it appropriate that he is still playing family games with the kid? He smiled and looked at Sasuke in front of him, and the bronze armor sneered. In that case, I can only make a quick decision. Maru-sama. Whoosh! The battle officially rushed out without hesitation. He who can absorb chakra, he is best at its close combat. As long as the close combat continues for a while, he can suck the opponent's chakra dry. Pity. Not Sasuke today, not the one in the original. Orochimaru couldn't easily mobilize chakra after he cast the spell, and even the second teenager who had to drink when opening Sharingan. But inherited the will of Konoha village. The genius swordsman draws his knife and slashes straight. In Scarlet Sharingan, the opponent rushed over. The look is full of flaws. The sealed state crosses an arc and is directly placed on the red copper. The gap is too big on Kai's neck, whether it's combat experience or the strength. Master, the red bronze armor is not 727. Sasuke shook his head to Moonlight Hayate and was about to announce the game result, but the red bronze armor that was held around the neck by the sword slammed once again while Sasuke's winning ticket was a little relaxed. Puff. The sealed state fell into the other's chest. Sasuke sneered. The sound walked backwards. The thing is to know the result and don't let your guard down before killing the opponent. This sentence was given to me by the master, and the relaxation you see is just the relaxation I want to show you. The Sheik boy left the scene, and the body of the bronze armor fell heavily to the ground. Special abilities but no room for display. This is the gap when your opponent is me. You have already lost this moment. A pillar is forced to open. In the second battle, the winner Uchiha Sasuke Moonlight Hayate coughed and announced the result. The third scene continues. The Chunin exam below continues. Although the site was destroyed by Bajian and Nagato, the reason is still affected, and the scene above has been very weird since the beginning. Ninja world leaders gathered, as if they had that kind of 5 shadows. The momentum of the talks. Divide into 2 simple analysis. It seems that Ping can be divided into 3 parties. Konoha side, Orochimaru side, neutral ninja world. Power side. Among them, the Konoha party is headed by Yi Bajian and Yi Shao. The team members are also assembled, plus the final jump. Tsunade, 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and other important figures were all present. And Orochimaru is a bit complicated in this respect. It's a group of villains led by Orochimaru. It's better to say that Orochimaru is a member of the former Ōtsutsuki organization. What's even more frightening about this cooperation is that there is a high probability that 2 people will not be at the mercy of the dirty soil that he summoned. Black Zetsu, Obito, Orochimaru plus fell to the ground. Of Nagato, there are 3 narrations: Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama and Uchiha Madara outside the coffin. The shadow of the shadow is that the number of people in the province is a little messy, but it is certain. Someone is forced. Such as Uchiha Madara, now he hasn't figured out what's going on. What a thing. Nagato lay motionless on the ground. Look at that. The appearance does not seem to be much different from that of a bereaved dog. People and his successor Obito is just one. I shook my head and sighed at him vigorously, not sure I wanted to express something. Also, why is Hashirama resurrected? It's difficult to resurrect him from the dirty soil to the cattle. Madara, who squinted her eyes, hugged her shoulders and looked at Yi Bajian. Just now this guy said that he would beat 10 himself. Did you drink too much? If you have a peanut, you won't be so drunk. Who is he? Madara was lost in thought. And the third party, a small team station formed by the filmmakers. Shaking all over together and chilling thanks to Luo Sha next to him for a little help. I'm afraid she can't get up already sitting there. Hello, as for? Uchiha Madara only. Luo Sha frowned, and she didn't treat Uchi quite a bit. The illusion in Madara's eyes. And self? Onoki's eyes widened. You know what you say. What? That's Uchiha Madara, To this day, he still can't forget that scene. A tall man can look at the haircut with just one look, not just watching Uchiha Madara unilaterally beating the second-generation soil. Grown-ups at that time, he was still the same boy, and eventually Iwagakure's alliance with Konoha failed. Just rely on this Mangekyo Sharingan. I still can't forget the psychological yin when I was young. He pulled Raikage's arm. Sound. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru's whole cards turned out to be these people. If it was first Hokage alone, maybe he could not turn the tide of the battle, but now add Uchi. Bo Madara. Are you going to start standing in line? Shadow frowned in the topic I discussed when I came to Konoha in advance. Orochimaru Nippei took out something that can fight Konoha. How to choose Chang now? What do they say? Li, Feng Ying, Mizukage, how do you? Some rush. It seems it's time to turn over the time to resist Konoha's tyranny has arrived. Don't you deserve to be called Cloud Shinobi Village Raikage? Look at Luosha and Terumi Mei. I is waiting for them. One answer. The current situation is clear, it is to follow the big. Snake Maru resisted together, still standing on Konoha's side to continue. Be humble and choose, no matter how you choose, you have to fight for a response. It's a pity, except Luo Sha gave a slight reaction. Besides, Terumi Mei didn't even look back and continued to watch the field. The two urged Ai to grit their teeth, forget it he decided to wait and see. Strange silence. Seping even Orochimaru didn't expect it to be dirty. After the transfer is complete, the atmosphere will become so calm, although I don't know what the situation is now. But the spellcaster over there, the old man who transferred the filthy soil this time has a strength close to the original one. After all, this technique was created by the old man. How could a mere transfer of dirty soil restrain the old man? In the end, it was second Hokage Senju Tobirama who was summoned to break the peace. Chiba Madara was also resurrected, here. It should be Konoha village, it looks like things should be a bit complicated. Miscellaneous. Up until now, there is no other choice. Brother, I'm going to do it. Click. At this moment, Senju Tobirama's body suddenly stiffened and looked at Orochimaru in shock. The body that originally wanted to move just stopped. Tobirama, you are dull. Hashirama sighed helplessly, carefully feel that this sacrifice is full of old man's cells, plus the shackles of impure world reincarnation. Speaking, Tsunade in the distance suddenly ran excitedly. Came over and fell in front of the two. At this moment Tsunade can no longer conceal her heart, and the tears falling from the corner of her eyes tell of her all these years. Some encounters. It's Shaosuna, you've grown up. Looking at his juniors, Senju Hashirama looks like. Ping feels a little bit, but I look at it left and right and seem to be a little confused. After dispersing his perception for a while, Senju Hashirama opened his eyes. Something is wrong. That Senju Hashirama asked curiously that he had indeed ordered the Senju family to live in Konoha with their surnames hidden, but the Tsunade family belonged to Senju. A family of direct bloodlines, and even if it is integrated into Konoha, you can also feel the huge chakra of the Senju clan. It's just that Joe's people, including those below. There is no familiar breath at all. Only Tsunade. Spreads in front of him, master first generation, I think this problem. You can ask my teacher, which is the third generation fire. Shadow Sarutobi Hiruzen. Orochimaru grinned, and Sihei found the cut. Yes. Even if impure world reincarnation can't control. But his purpose is only one from beginning to end. Kill Sarutobi proved the value of one's own existence. It became, they're all dead, and those who merged into Konoha are treated as the Senju clan. I want to recall Tsunade's miserable smile, but it's not very past, he still can't understand why he wants. Let Nawaki, a kid who just graduated, also go to the battlefield. Obviously the second ninja war Konoha didn't get it. To what benefit, and it's clearly an invasion war, for. Why do you want to fight so extreme? What happened? Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama turned their heads instantly and looked. To Sarutobi Hiruzen who was calm, nothing to explain. Since Tsunade came back, Sarutobi knew that maybe. There is such a day. Master first generation, teacher Tobirama. I'm sorry for the Senju family. Sarutobi bowed to the two of them, and Sarutobi's eyes were firm. It was my mistake, and I have the courage to take it all. But before that, I have to clean up Konoha's traitors and clean up the door. Huayong stopped me. Please turn into a golden hoop. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook off the robe on his body. It seems that he has already seen through Orochimaru's identity. First, it just didn't say it. How did I find my 0 inches? The look in the eyes hides malice and ambition. In fact, I have noticed it a long time ago. Sarutobi shook his head bitterly. It's the same as before, as if I realized that you haven't stopped experimenting on humans. Nevertheless, I pretended not to know. In those war years, you were brilliant. So I hope you can inherit my mantle. That's what I thought back then. With a long sigh, Sarutobi's eyes gradually became firmer. But my naive thoughts at that time created today's disaster. Maybe that day, I shouldn't let you go. This incident is also the worst mistake I ever made in Old Man number 1. So even if your breath and appearance change, your eyes are still full of ambition as always. Eyes? Orochimaru pinched the seal and looked cold. This teacher really understands himself. Monkey, I think you should talk about the Senju family first. The controlled Senju Tobirama looked solemnly. The old man gave Konoha to you. Now you tell me that the Senju clan is only left with Tsunade? Don't change the subject. I need an explanation. Explanation? What kind of explanation do you want? What is the Senju clan? Just when everyone was indulged in the magnificent thirst for knowledge, a cold voice struck. The Uchiha Madara, who was holding his shoulders, lightly stepped on the tiles under his feet, and a big hole almost caused it to collapse in an instant. I just want to know what's going on now. The ferocious breath instantly spread, and Madara's gaze shifted to Obito, who was standing next to him. Then walked forward step by step. Find out what the situation is now, why it's not the resurrection of oneself, but the revolving heaven. And where is Project Ōtsutsuki no Mi? This is what Madara wants to know. As for the Konoha village Naruto's question, what does it have to do with him? Walking towards Obito step by step, but when passing by Orochimaru, Madara suddenly stopped looking at Jiin and turned his head to look directly at Orochimaru. Are you a caster? Coming? Orochimaru tightly controlled impure world reincarnation, but the man in front of him didn't even move his body, and calmly took a look at his neckline. It seems you know the secret of my body. Yes, the secret of the combination of yin and yang. Orochimaru nodded with sweat on his face. You resurrected with special sacrifices will surpass your heyday. Madara was stunned with a bit of playfulness in her eyes. Have you seen my heyday? I really want to meet Uchiha Madara, the legendary power. Holding the seal, Orochimaru seems to want to manipulate Madara's body and use him to reverse the awkward situation. But the other party just glanced at Orochimaru with that kind of ant look and then walked towards Obito in the distance step by step. Make prints while walking, surgeon, forbidden technique is not something children can play with. Cut. Although I don't know what's going on, but since I'm resurrected, then Project Ōtsutsuki no Mi will be taken over by Uchiha Madara. The speed of both hands accelerated and slapped to the ground fiercely. The next moment, the ferocious Madara uttered a low drink. Uchiha Madara, a technique created by a mere low-level waste, wants to trap me Uchiha Madara? Senju Tobirama cursed without a trace. Madara's body began to shine with white 4.8 colors. Impure world reincarnation. Untie. When the line that had connected with the deceased was broken, Orochimaru was completely dumbfounded. Are you kidding me? Can this thing be unlocked? Regaining her freedom, Madara finally walked up to Obito and looked at him. At this moment, the eyes of the people around are all gathered in the past. The identity of the masked Uchiha Madara has been self-defeated when the real Uchiha Madara is resurrected. Who is he then? People who have worked with Akatsuki and have had interactions with Obito are full of doubts. Only Minato and Kakashi sighed. How is Project Ōtsutsuki no Mi done? Why? I feel the breath of several tail beasts below, not in the ghetto statue. Also, why use this low-end resurrection method to resurrect me? Obito. Looking at Obito slantingly, Madara's voice is low. Master Madara. Obito didn't catch any of them. Instead, Black Zetsu quickly replied respectfully. I think you should change the question. Obito frowned and stretched out his finger to Yi Bajian. For example, who is he? Who is he? Madara glanced coldly. It's just a kid, delusional to hit 10 Uchiha Madara's rubbish. Small gravel, not as good as me, blast down Kang. A big knife slashed over in the air, and Madara's Susanoo blocked the attack from the dangerous fence above his head. At this moment, Madara's eyes were full of excitement. Crunch. Boom! Susanoo's armor shattered, and Madara's body took a dozen steps back before slowly stopping. And the kid he was talking about raised the knife again and held out his thumb at Madara, and then slammed down in front of him with a 180-degree rotation. Small gravel, not as good as me, I'm right about that. Spirits in the throat. Bajian grinned. Things seem to be getting more and more interesting. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 183. At this moment, on behalf of Konoha, I start a war of unification against you. The gravel is not as good as me. Onoki in the distance shuddered when he saw Nope's Susao burst, and he just started to use the combat power summoned by Orochimaru to resist, and he dispelled a lot in an instant. That is Uchiha Madara, was forced to retreat calm. Must calm down. It seems that waiting and watching is the most correct choice. Who is he? Standing still, Madara frowned and looked at Obito. Really? Obito was right. Compared with the previous question, the priority of this question is indeed higher than the previous one. His name is Yi Bajian. Taking a deep breath, Obito speaks slowly. But more people remember his title, Konoha Kenpachi. What is the meaning of this title? I don't know. But the person with this title can exercise the same rights as Hokage. In other words, he is also Konoha's Hokage. Is there a short pause? Obito looked at Madara. Is it still so calm? But what I want to say next is that even Uchiha Madara would be surprised. The same power as Naruto. Senju Tobirama, who was not far away, frowned. Monkey, you made this system? Unfortunately, there are two supreme commanders in a village. This problem is really too big, you. What the hell did it do? Not to mention who is the person who made the decision when encountering a problem in ordinary times, just as an emergency. What should I do if the opinions of two people are not uniform? You disappointed me too much, monkey. In a village, two people exercise power together. Such things are unheard of. But what confuses Senju Tobarama is that when he said that, Sarutobi just shook his head. And Joe used the Anbu ninja and the Night Owl team, and even the handsome man in the fourth Hokage cape in the distance. The angry men all cast the same look at him. There is only one meaning in the eyes. That's rare and strange. It's like a group of people are looking at the dumb and grumbling. How? Is there a problem with what the old man said? Senju Tobarama frowned. His tone of voice was the same as before, but his momentum seemed a bit weaker. Ahem, that's it. This matter has to be discussed from the beginning. Minato suddenly stood up and smiled. Master second generation, this policy is based on my 04th. It was made by fourth Hokage himself. The internal reason is a bit complicated if it is explained, but in general, it is because Bajian is. Konoha's ordinary rewards for the credit are no longer necessary. It's a big tone. Senju Tobarama said in a daze, the old man would like to know what the credit is for you. What do you mean? Ms. Tobarama. Seeing the appearance of second generation, Sarutobi sighed and interrupted the other party. In fact, the old man is also. It was, after all, he did what Hokage hadn't done in all generations. Those who disagree don't even think it is too much. For example, expanding the territory for Konoha and expanding Konoha's territory. Expand Konoha territory. Second generation suddenly fell silent. He never thought about this kind of thing, or didn't think that this kind of thing could be done. 5 great ninja villages, 5 great nations. There are small countries in the middle. This pattern seems to him will never change. Moreover, it is a little unrealistic to think about letting others cede the land. What else? Madara, who was next to Obito, suddenly became interested. He glanced at Bajian meaningfully and told Obito. Keep talking. Expand the territory for Konoha and expand the territory? Madara has heard of this kind of thing for the first time. But there is always an inexplicable sense of coolness in it. It seems that the kid has completed what he wanted. Things to do. What he said was only superficial merits. Obito smiled wryly, and the old man said, well, if you add all the merits, this. Konoha's people enshrine him as a god. Ninja school graduated ahead of schedule, and then went to the Land of Thunder to go deep behind enemy lines and capture the second tail and hit 8 tails. Even before I fought with him and was forced to retreat. This is nothing. After returning to the village, his reform is the top priority. Anbu, which was originally hidden in the depths, is reformed in the sector that people don't have much feelings for. The names that can be engraved on the wall are the people who contributed to Konoha. What third Hokage just said is the credit recorded on it. But apart from those, there are more unknown things. For example, capturing Raikage alive, forcing the Kingdom of Thunder to finally abandon the land. For another example, things like preventing me from launching the Nine Tails Chaos to revenge against Konoha are totally unremarkable. Obito squinted his eyes and looked at Terumi Mei in the distance. The following is the point. After integrating Anbu, he led Anbu's ninjas and his own personal Night Owl squad to sneak into Kirigakure. In just one night, he took control of Kirigakure's regime and killed the 4th Mizuga Jigura, and supported the 1st. According to my investigation, Kirigakure has already become Konoha's affiliated village, with the country of water. Enter 5th Mizukage Terumi Mei, all under the control of Konoha. Is the entire water country under the control of Konoha? At this moment, the people around were completely dumbfounded. Whether it is the shadow of Onin village or the leaders of other ninja villages, they looked at Terumi Mei in amazement, seemingly wanting to see what is going on from her reaction. Exposed. Terumi Mei shrugged her shoulders to Bajian and expressed helplessness. She didn't know about it. How did Obito know about it? Bai Jing, the so-called blood fog policy is Obito's method of retaliating against Kirigakure. She didn't know that Yagura was controlled. In order to express her stance, Terumi Mei stood up and leaned on Bajian's shoulder cleverly. By doing this, I already acquiesced that what Obito said was true. Kirigakure, one of the 5 ninja villages, is it really Konoha's subsidiary? Cannot accept. The 5 ninja villages are actually only the 4 ninja villages? The sudden change made everyone silent. Even the faces of first generation and second generation that turned out with dirty soil stiffens. What a feat. If it's just these, it's nothing. Obito was as calm as ever, but the slight jealousy in the words could be heard by everyone. He is indeed jealous. Sometimes I even wonder what it would be like if the person so admired was him. After all, the Kirigakure regime at that time was already very fragile, and supporting the 5th Mizukage in the upper ranks was a speculation. It was when he brought Anbu into the land of the earth that really showed his strength. With only 200 Anbu ninjas, he upset the land of the earth and almost destroyed the entire Iwagakure. Finally, I even forced the shadows of Iwagakure and San Shinobi village to come to Konoha, bowed to the wall of glory and merit, and asked them to pay Konoha every year and transport large amounts of supplies. If these are to show strength, then the following things are the real ambitions. After a pause, Obito spoke again. I defeated the 4 ninja villages and took control of Kirigakure. This did not satisfy his ambitions. From a few years ago, Konoha's hand began to reach out to those small ninja villages. As far as I know, more than 80% of the small and medium-sized ninja villages and countries in the entire ninja world are under Konoha's control. Foreseeing the future, he will do incredible things. After speaking in one breath, Obito held up his mask. Only he himself knew how much sweat was oozing on his face at the moment. In short, he is very tricky, and Project Tsuki no Mi was also forced to stop because of his existence. Because the Rain Shinobi village where Akatsuki is located has been razed to the ground with one move than him. You gave Rinnegan the guy, and he is still lying there in a coma. Walked slightly in front of Madara, Obito's voice deliberately lowered. I am not his opponent, but one thing is certain. His sword can attack the soul of a person. According to my guess, Dirt's turn is to pull back the undead of the dead, but his sword happens to be a sword aimed at the soul, so I think you'd better use your real body to resurrect, otherwise you may not be able to beat him. Now 9 tails, 2 tails, 1 tail, are all below, and the shadows of the villages. Shish. Obito wanted to continue. Madara put her hand on her mouth and hissed. Reaching out and patted Obito's shoulder, Madara's expression suddenly went crazy. I haven't seen you for so many years, Obito. You didn't accomplish anything. Sure enough, it is a waste, without any use value. Slanting a glance at Obito, Madara retracted her gaze and nodded to Black Zetsu. The latter got the information. After sinking into the mud, turn around and look at Yi Bajian. Madara patted her forehead with her hand. The voice goes from low to high. The body also began to tremble. He is laughing, excited too. Ha 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 ha, hash, have you seen it? What I said to you, your younger generation actually completed. NS. Use force to unify the world, and then bring peace to the world. When I made this proposal to you, you refuted it unreasonably, but now that little one. The ghost did the same thing as me, agree? No, that's refreshing in the heart. Finally someone thought of going with him, it's the same pattern. It is also a means to suspend the war, but true peace doesn't come like this, kid. The laughter stopped. Uchiha Madara held his shoulders and walked to Bajian again. From your performance, your strength should be very strong. Well, in short, it should be a bit more powerful than Obito's waist. In that case, I'll give you a chance. Reaching out his hand, Bajian's face showed a touch of approval. After all, you are the only one who ever thought with me. Not to mention the Konoha people in EFA, even the waist of the Uchiha clan did not expect it. People who go together. So you deserve my approval. In this way, are you interested in ruling the world with me? Cooperate? The people on the court were dumbfounded. That proud Uchiha Madara stretched out his hand to a junior. No, not right, he is inviting Yi Bajian to join a project. Oops. If these two people stand together, I'm afraid I can push the ninja world. The shadows of the 5 great ninja village and the leader of the little ninja village looked at Yi Bajian nervously. Project Tsuki no Mi, also known as the Infinite Tsukuyomi Project. The tale becomes 10 tails Jinchuriki. Finally release Infinite Tsukuyomi at the moon. Let people all over the world fall into a beautiful illusion, so as to achieve the effect of unity and peace. Instead of shaking the hand that Uchiha Madara handed over, Bajian introduced the process of Infinite Tsukuyomi in front of everyone. It seems that you got a lot of information from Obito's trash. Madara also retracted her hand and hugged her shoulder again and said calmly. Then your answer? Do you want to rule the world with me? What a joke. Master Bajian, don't be fooled. Yes, what kind of shit and peace is that? Illusory? All illusory can bring is destruction. At the same time, the 5 great ninja villages Yinglian brought the 2 Senju brothers of Impure World Reincarnation directly to speak up. Even first Hokage Senju Hashirama has already walked over, always ready to stop the two. Noisy. Turning her head suddenly, Madara's aura was like a huge wave sweeping across all directions, instantly reprimanding the people who opened their mouths and shut their mouths. Do you mind if I clean up and smash it? Susanoo came out plainly, and under the 3-headed 6-arm mode, he seemed to think of a fun ninjutsu. With Susanoo-hira, the raindrops summoned should be much larger, right? Madara suddenly thought, it's better to call this trick Tengai Shinsei. Rinnegan's pupil technique is the first time that Saping has used it. It should be magnificent. Who are you talking about smashing? Bajian spoke suddenly, but instead reached out to Uchiha Madara. By the way, I don't really have any interest in the things you just said, because Tsukuyomi is just a game for children to play house. It can also be called Black Zetsu's mother-saving story. It has nothing to do with peace, okay? Black Zetsu saves his mother. Underground, Black Zetsu, who was slowly approaching Nagato's body, shuddered suddenly, sweating in fright. Kagaya of Bajian's spiritual space even laughed. Black Zetsu saves his mother is really an image. But Madara obviously didn't understand the meaning of this sentence. Reincarnation lines appeared in his eyes under the miniature Susanoo. It looks like you were planning to refuse? That's a shame. Madara sighed, it's hard to find a young man who has the same idea as I once, and now it seems to be as pedantic as Hashirama. Somewhat puzzling is that this kid obviously refused. Why did he stretch out his hand to him? Forget it, that doesn't matter. It's you, Mr. Madara. A kind smile suddenly appeared on his face. At this moment, Bajian was as gentle as an old father looking at his unfilial son. Join Konoha. After all, I wrote your name on the wall of glory and merit. What are you doing? People are messed up again. Yi Bajian invited a madman who wanted to destroy the world to join Konoha. What's the situation? Hey, kid, you have no right to do this. Senju Tobirama frowned and stopped directly. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 184. Come, fight with me. What is he saying? Deathly silence. Even below, the people who organized the Chunin exam stopped their work. It was both loud and full of firmness, and it was undoubtedly what Yi Bajian said. As Konoha 5th Hokage, declare war on all the rebels. This war is the 4th Ninja War. War for peace. 5 Shadows talks? The reincarnation army. Why is it necessary? All the people who should be in place are in place. The ancestors of the shadows, the leaders of the major ninja villages, including their lead guards. There is also the dark hand behind the scenes hidden in the darkness of the ninja world. Together with Konoha, the young and old looking at Yi Bajian's back. Bajian expects that those present will be promoted by a coincidence in Orochimaru, and promoted in the background of the Chunin exam. Move all to the scene. And now, Bajian is strong enough to say what he wants to say. This ninja world. After all, with his strong arrival, he will completely quell the war and return to the peace it should have. End troubled times. This is what Yi Bajian once said. On this road will be accompanied by death and blood, but when the light comes, all that will be done. The person is exceptionally warm, although it is night. But the one standing in the sky is the new sun, the only sun that radiates the entire land. No doubt. Yi Bajian, he is the one who brings light to the ninja world. The figure shuttles. The Yi Shao team all fell behind Bajian. Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Shisui, Hitaki Kakashi, Jiraiya, Might Guy. A 5-person team, but it can explode with powerful energy. And behind them, there are Konoha's Anbu ninjas. One pair in the darkness has a pair of hot eyes. Eyes, looking at everyone in front of you. Minato nodded silently, and took off the Naruto cloak and Naruto hats on her body slowly. Go, actually, as a teacher, I wanted to teach you Hokage hats in a more weight-reducing situation, but now I'm here next to Bajian. It seems that it is time. She put the cloak behind Bajian, and Minato's face was nothing but relief. He has grown up. Really grown up. Look at yourself. Although Bajian never called him by that title, he believed that Bajian had already acquiesced in his heart. That kind of relationship is the inheritance of the will of fire. But the declaration of war is just the beginning. When Konoha was standing on the opposite side of the major shinobu villages in Madara. The opponents are already obvious. A new way to build peace? Senju Hashirama returned to God from shock and spoke slowly. He has an extremely unreal feeling. For the first time, I really found that Pingping is so close to me. But, there are always some problems with this way of building peace. Unify violence and integrate all forces. Indeed, there will be no contradictory disputes in a short period of time. But when Konoha's talents who suppressed everything slowly fade away, what should we do? Brother, this is tyranny, not peace. Senju Tobirama looked solemn. I think Konoha has changed, the kind of village in the united and upward. The ninja worships power as if he has been brainwashed. Teacher Tobirama. What surprised Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama? The one who stood up to refute them turned out to be the person they had taught before, a fire that seemed to have failed. Actually, I really want to show you Konoha now. The changes in this village are not what you see. Especially what the man said when negotiating with Cloud Shinobi Village made me very convinced. He is the inheritor of the will of fire. Sarutobi seemed to miss it a little, with longing in his eyes. He said that as long as he stands here, Konoha is the first ninja village deserved. I thought it was just an exaggerated farce, but until today. After the master removed all the regions except the country of the earth, the country of need, and the country of the wind, Konoha has. According to what you said, such a world power will come, but what I see is the opposite. Villager, ninja, fetters. The trust between each other has completely changed, apart from the expansion of scale, the fair system. Even the old man, a sinner, has a place to play, and the establishment of the administrative department made Hokage's work less tiring, even Konoha and those. The government affairs of the affiliated villages can be completed effectively. This is what peace should be like. This is what peace should be like. Sarutobi was always in tears. Now Konoha is the ideal village. Is that so? Senju Hashirama nodded and lost his thoughts. He didn't care about Bajian's attitude just now. On the contrary, there is something that makes him a little concerned. Monkey, you just said that he engraved Uchiha Madara's name on the place called the Meritorious Wall. Right? After looking back, Hashirama asked, thinking of something. Yes, like you, it is recorded on the Merits Wall that he and you founded Konoha. Sarutobi nodded and said, Sugar Sugar. Hashirama suddenly, and then walks carelessly towards the small Susanoo Hirayuki who wants to summon. In front of Madara of the meteorite. Like Madara, he glanced at each other when passing by Orochimaru, and wanted to add. He smiled mischievously at him when he was in control. Well, if you think you can control Senju Hashirama with Senju Hashirama's cells, this dirt will turn. You will continue to control when you are born, and I will try my best to cooperate with you. Use Senju Hashirama's cells to control Senju Hashirama. Orochimaru seems to feel the insult. I still insulted myself. At this moment, his intestines are all regretful. Of the 3 people summoned by the dirty soil, 2 of them are not under their control. Also, let people not be confused. Is it necessary to slap your face like this? There is only one Senju Tobirama left, plus I don't know if I can deal with Sarutobi Hiruzen. It seems that the problem is no longer the other party's teacher. Sarutobi's problem has risen to the level of war. With caution in his eyes, Orochimaru looked at his former teacher. Madara, stop it. Walking all the way to the front of Madara, Hashirama naturally sat on the protruding building of the central tower. Then he reached out to Madara. What are you talking about, Hashirama? Madara looked calm, glanced at her old opponent and then turned her gaze to Bajian. Boy, do you know, you just told me what I was going to say first. Declare war. Isn't that what I should say? Madara stared at Bajian. This kid who made him curious everywhere, did everything he ever wanted to do. And the peace like ping is within reach as long as the counterattack after the declaration of war is suppressed. I am afraid that the world will really be unified. Peace will also come, but that is not a permanent peace after all. People will die. War will break out after death. Only infinite Tsukuyomi is the ultimate road to peace. Illusion that brings permanent dreams. You wait, Madara. Are you sure not to go with me to see your name engraved on the wall of the meritorious service? Senju Hashirama did not give up. I still remember that in Nanheshuan we were thinking about peaceful scenes together. Everything now is for peace. Why do you want to destroy peace? I don't want you to do this. Although we were competing against each other and peeing into the river, you were inferior to me, but I. Our hearts are the same. After a pause, Senju Hashirama sighed in remembrance. Give up, Madara, just like once you let go of your hatred and build Konoha with me. Generation. I know that you have been working hard for peace, but I chose to entrust the idea of peace to the post. Everything is so beautiful now, you shouldn't be so irritable, you know what a fart. Gave Hashirama a cold look. It's the kindness of this man that made the grand plan he wanted to accomplish unfinished, and now he's standing. The man there became a kid as a result. He couldn't accept the name on the merit wall? He probably didn't care anymore. Hey, the one over there is called Orochimaru. Turning her head suddenly, Madara looked grim. Just now you said you want to see my peak combat effectiveness? As you wish. From Uchiha, the power of God, chakra exploded violently. The amount of frenzied violence that has been maintained converges on Susanoo Nope and Susao Nope's extended arms. Also began to seal. The atmosphere suddenly became depressed. People invariably looked towards the sky, and an area of the originally clear skies suddenly became pure black. When the black color starts to expand, the leaders of Shinobu village, who were already anxious, suddenly stunned. Just kidding. How could it be possible? Power is not in one dimension at all. Something seems to be slipping off. That huge thing suddenly became within reach. From Uchiha Madara, the power of God Tengai Shinsei. I just gave it to you, but I still want to put these miscellaneous things together after the final battle with you. Holding her shoulders, Madara looked provocatively at Bajian, and then sneered at Orochimaru. This power was not created by you, Tengai Shinsei. Bajian looked up at the night sky. The light from the waning moon is enough to see what it is. The pupil technique from Rinnegan. When using it, you need to use Susanoo Nope to seal the seal. The destructive power is so powerful that even the caster himself must be killed. Hey, what do you do? Under the calm night, a figure suddenly stood up. Onoki. Die here? No, he never wanted to. It seems that it's not the time to analyze whether to resist the Konoha unification war, but Guanping to Ren. The fate of the world in the future, if they all die here. This world, I am afraid, is really going to become an illusion hell controlled by infinite Tsukuyomi. Calm down, Tsuchikage. Minato smiled like a son at Onoki. This is Konoha. No one can destroy this village in front of Bajian, in front of us. Otherwise, why would Konoha become the #1 Shinobu village? Can no one destroy this village in front of him? Onoki's expression dimmed. Once, his village was ruined by Bajian, but he was helpless. Is this the gap? Your Lord Naruto. Mew seems to have made a difficult decision. Those 2 people over there. They all want world peace, but it is clear that Uchiha Madara's path is narrowed. And the old man has an illusion for some reason, that is, even if he is Uchiha Madara, Seping is not Bajian's opponent. So it seems that the only thing we can choose is to surrender Konoha. It is difficult to tell. The fact that Onoki's face seems to be getting older. Then the old man wants to ask you, if the old man agrees to surrender, can he not hurt the ninjas of Iwagakure and the people of Tu no Kuni? If you can, the old man is willing to die. If not, the old man will fight to his death, even if the final result is still death. Staring at Tsuchikage in front of him, Minato seemed to know him for the first time. Is this Iwagakure's Will of Stone? Snapped. With a hand on his shoulder, Minato's smile became brighter. You don't need to die, and Iwagakure won't kill anyone. All you have to do is accept Konoha's policy. As fourth Hokage, I promise that Iwagakure's life will get better and better. Don't underestimate Bajian's mind, he will violently crush him only when he encounters resistance. This Mizukage can prove like you. Give Terumi-Mae a look, Minato's meaning is obvious. What Naruto-sama said is indeed true. In fact, there are only a few dozen people who died in Kirigakure's coup, and they are all rebels. Also, if you see the current development of Kirigakure, I am afraid you will be surprised. Terumi-Mae shrugged, I didn't see the violence you mentioned. Just follow Konoha. Is that so? Onoki lowered his head. Hi, teacher. Just then, lazily took out the bench and sat on it. Bajian, wearing a Hokage cloak, waved to Minato. Can this meteorite be transferred? Throw it over there in the Valley of End? Flying Thunder God technique. Flying Thunder God. The object is too big and it's a bit troublesome. I need to borrow some strength from Master Nine-Tails. A golden light flashed on her body, and the golden flash of Nine-Tails chakra mode nodded at Bajian. The process of borrowing power was surprisingly smooth. Whoosh! The golden light soared into the sky, and the huge meteorite was transferred to the distance and slowly fell in the next moment. Flying Thunder God. Novel Madara looked at the golden light coldly. What do you do if there is another one? Continue to transfer. Minato's answer made Madara stunned. Oh, right. Just about to continue working, Minato patted her stomach in embarrassment. Master Nine-Tails asked me to tell you. It said it was very happy to see your shriveled face. Lend it. I have a lot of chakra, and it is best if you are throwing a few meteorites. Huh. The figure disappeared again, and Uchiha Madara, his expression gradually began to twist. Finally, accompanied by two shocks in the distance. Tengai Shinsei, known as the power of the gods, has disappeared above his head. After all, this flying technique was created by the old man. In the distance, Tsunere's Senju Tobirama breathed a sigh of relief, and then seemed to pat his own with pride. Chestwell, he created it, nothing wrong. Lida's sword sang. When people were enjoying the aftermath, Itachi suddenly ran to Bajian with his throat. The meteorite is broken into pieces, or the two weak meteorites are directly evaporated. No, Jonsong, such a weak attack, according to Jianeng's strength. Why do you have to let Mr. Minato transfer? Yes. Even the other members of the Yi Shao squad were a little confused. It's true, Shao, I don't understand, it's just an attack of this level. Kakashi frowned. Oh, didn't I say that I proposed to build an exclusive Konoha attraction in the Valley of End? But the plan seems to be stranded due to lack of land. After all, there are not many Earth-style ninjas in our village. So look at this meteorite, isn't it just natural soil? Then you let Yamato follow the design. The picture is set up properly, and the ticket is temporarily set at 100 Konoha coins. I guess I can make a lot of money. Bajian said naturally. The voice just fell. A murderous aura rose to the sky. Madara's eyes were red. It's no big deal that Tengai Shinsei was transferred. But what do these people just say? Open black lens bracket weak attack close black lens bracket. To make the weak meteorite into fragments. It's just an attack of this degree, close black lens bracket. Just forget it, and isn't a statue in the Valley of the End mine? Go to hell. In an instant rushed in front of Bajian, Madara's fist had already struck. Boy. Do you want to dance too? Boom, the power is surprisingly great. Catching Madara's head up, Bajian gradually stared at Madara's eyes with one hand, the light blue in his pupils. Wanyu slowly turned, and responded with a word of evil. This world is too small, it can barely be enough for one person to toss. But obviously, the only person tossing this world is me. Snapped. She squeezed Madara's fist and immediately squeezed her fist. Bajian squeezed her fist. Standing up, the hideous evil spirit slapped Uchiha Madara's face with a slap, bringing a burst of madness. Lousy even wants to FK. Come on, fight with me, please move to related works. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 185. Be sure to fight with all your strength. The body of the filthy soil turned into a cow is almost meaningless. Rinnegan stared at Bajian. Uchiha Madara's body slowly recovered. Perhaps the caster himself felt that adding the sacrificial offerings to Senju Hashirama's cell would make the strength of the summoned person close to the original strength. In addition, Madara's body has been specially treated, and the combat effectiveness should be better than before. But Madara knew in her heart that she didn't have the real touch of flesh and blood, and she couldn't even feel the beating of her heart. I can't feel the pain either. This kind of battle is simply outrageous. The man named Uchiha Madara has always enjoyed fighting with his body, enjoying the process of fighting. Looking at the man in front of him, he felt a fighting style similar to his own. Enjoy the battle to the fullest and vent your inner desires. The body has recovered. Madara's face rarely wore a cautious sweep of Yi-Baji and the knife slung around her waist. Obito's information is not known to be true or not. If it is assumed that the opponent does have an offensive method against the soul, it is not safe to turn the body into a bull. Fortunately, Black Zetsu has been asked to prepare. Just kill the kid in front of you, then kill Hashirama, and finally catch the animal in Konoha village. Students, Project Ōtsutsuki no Mi can start chakra began to stretch out. Just as Madara's mouth was about to spray flames, a figure appeared in front of him instantly. This is not a place where you can play ninjutsu wantonly. Squeezing Madara's neck, Bajian strangled her in the cradle. The momentum of the huge impact was not diminished, and the two figures slammed into the death forest outside the central tower. Joke. The Chunin exam is still going on. If Madara is allowed to vandalize here, how will the exam be conducted? Among other things, if your complete body is released, you can give the central tower with one kick. Kick it out, right? Suzunohe is known as the pronoun of destruction. Madara once said in the original book that everyone who has seen this trick is dead. That's right, after all, Senju Hashirama was really dead at that time and hasn't been turned around by Orochimaru. He only has Hashirama in his eyes, just as Sasuke only has Naruto in his eyes. Recognize the strength of the opponent in the battle, so that you can sit down and talk calmly. During the time with Sengoku, Senju Hashirama reached out after defeating Uchiha Madara and wanted to share with him. Same as Konoha. Only if the strength is equal can they have the qualifications to negotiate with each other. Talking and preaching have no effect on people like Madara. Even if Naruto came up and talked, it didn't work. As for the reason, because Madara worked hard for world peace from beginning to end, and never came out of selfish desire. He said that in order to achieve his own purpose, he just walked a little bit. It's not to blame him. The stone monument of the Uchiha clan was left by Sage of Six Paths. Yes, after being modified by Black Zetsu, this technique that allowed the world to enter the illusion made Madara go astray. Perhaps until Kagaya was sealed again, Madara didn't want to understand whether the so-called peace would survive. Does it exist? I have to admit that among the villains in Naruto world, Madara's personality is really strong. Blow down. With great strength, the two fell into the forest of death. Dirt-turned body shattered again, and Madara's face was not good looking when he was recovering. Bajian just calmly patted the dust on his shoulder. After thinking about it, he didn't know where to get one. Throwing the knife to Madara, and then lazily taking it off his neck, Minato gave him the golden cross sword and pointed at it. This golden sword was a token of his gift to Shanglin. After Shanglin found Minato, he had already confessed to Kushina. Went. So it came back to his hands again. Well, you should be bad at using knives. Don't say I bully you. With a flick of the golden sword, Bajian grinned. In this situation, it looks like Mihawk bullying Suzuo. The liquidation is coming, above the central tower. Minato glanced at the distance and then retracted his gaze, and nodded to Kakashi next to him. Well, it's really time to settle the account. The two turned around and walked straight towards Uchiha Obito. Obito still wears a mask at this moment, but that face has been distorted to a certain extent. Just before Madara left, she yelled at him in trash. Waste? Does he talk about himself? Things have developed to the way it is today, and they are beyond their control? Is this to blame him? Don't blame him at all. The fighting power of that kid soared so quickly, he had never seen such a sturdy growth process. Even that person is not a ninja. It's hard to describe, it's a match for the god Nagato has been talking about. And for some reason, Obito at this moment suddenly looked forward to Yi-Bajian's ability to kill Uchiha Madara. At that time, Saping can run to Madara's side in an open manner and tell the other person who is useless. But before that, some things really need to be dealt with. Standing straight and looking at the two people who came in front of him, Obito's breathing calmed down. A former teacher and a former friend, there is no doubt that they have recognized themselves. They were not surprised even when Madara called Obito by her name. Who told them? Yi-Bajian. Never mind, make a break. Obito. Minato's expression is a bit complicated. When he just learned from Bajian that the monk was Obito, he was a little bit. The student I once trusted actually wanted to kill their family when Kushina gave birth. He even summoned 9 tails to destroy Konoha once. He wanted to stand in front of Obito and ask him what he was doing. But at this moment, when he really saw him, Minato suddenly realized that he didn't know what to say. What can he say? Blame? No, what are you accusing him of? Everyone has the right to choose their own path. Lin's death greatly stimulated Obito. He chose. From the perspective of destroying the world, create Yulin's world. As a man, this is worthy of admiration, but the wrong path is chosen, and he must have the consciousness to bear the price. Does Obito have this awareness? Tell him the truth gently? No, I really think that for Obito, it seems flat is not important anymore. Lin asked Kakashi to kill her. Obito knows this very well. What he hates is that Kakashi couldn't save Lin when he saw it, so he really used Reikiri to pierce Lin's heart. In action. But this is not to blame Kakashi at all. Even after that incident, Kakashi woke up countless times from the dark night looking at his blood-stained. No one would want to kill their companions who would bear the heart to destroy the bond cultivated in battle after battle. But unlike Minato, Kakashi still wants to say something. Obito. Opening his mouth, Kakashi spit out 2 words with difficulty. I don't want to say anything to you, Kakashi. The identity has been revealed, and there is no need to continue wearing this mask. Taking off the mask, Obito's broken face showed up and looked at Kakashi and Minato. Without any emotion. Obito, Kakashi is not to blame. Think about it, what would you do if you were Kakashi? Minato said bitterly. Who knows, I would let 3 tails run away and attack Konoha. There was a cruel look on Obito's face. It's best to take everyone Konoha away for funeral. He has completely perverted. Obito, why did you become like this? This answer. Minato was completely stunned. This wasn't the kind kid who helped the old lady cross the road. Namikaze Minato. When you interrupt Minato, Obito's eyes are cold. You are not qualified to say such things. There was an accident when Kakashi and I rescued Lin. You weren't here, and Lin was sealed 3 tails. You weren't there. Even my disciple stood in front of him but couldn't recognize it. Golden Glitter. It's a false name. Anger fills his eyes, and Obito reaches out his finger to Minato and yells at him. Obito, it's okay for you to blame me, but I'm afraid Mr. Minato has saved you the number of times you can't count it with both hands. Coming. Because it was delayed by other missions, I didn't have the first time to come to support the conclusion of the coffin. It is not appropriate to do this. And, taking a deep breath, Kakashi lifted the forehead protector to reveal the Sharingan. It's not what you think it is, whether it's you, me, or Lin. It's only the object used by Madara. Seal 3 tails in Lin's body, and led me to kill Lin, so that you can see this scene by coincidence. It's all Uchiha Madara's scam. This. Minato was stunned, no more than Minato. After Kakashi learned that the masked man was Obito, he felt a little strange. Why did Kirigakure's ninjas come to Iwagakure's battle by coincidence during the Third Ninja War? Field, that Shenwubi bridge deep behind enemy lines? The country of earth is far away from the country of water, and the country of thunder and the country of fire must pass through the place in the middle. Kirigakure was still attacking the southern border of the land of fire. How could he appear in that position? So when he talked to Bajian about the question in his heart, the final truth has already been paid to the surface. They are all used pawns. In this way, Madara wants to make Obito despair of the world and let his inner light shine. Bottom off very cruel means, but the effect is really good. Obito was desperate. Directly evolved from Liangushin to Mangekyo. When I heard Kakashi's words at first, Obito was stunned. But after a long time, he calmed down again. Saw, who knows? Both hands are knotted. Strong flames gushing out. Fire style. Shabby pants. Just because of Kakashi's sentence that Madara is responsible for everything? Maybe there are doubts in my heart, but now his heart is in a mess. He just wants to fight a good battle. Then ask Madara if it is what Kakashi said. What is it for Madara? Just fighting. A flurry of blast has already represented what he meant. Doesn't make sense. Kakashi sighed and looked at Minato, who nodded at him. In the end, the companions of the past could not avoid the fate of swords facing each other. Suddenly, there was a violent chakra fluctuation in the Death Forest. The blue light rose into the sky. The unstable chakra is gathering something in the air. Susanoo. First Hokage Senju Hashirama, who was next to him, stepped forward solemnly, intending to take a look. Fight against Uchiha Madara several times, he knows what moves the man is going to use now. Except for wood style, Susanoo has no other way to resist. As he walked, Senju Hashirama said, but his progress was stopped by a woman. My granddaughter, Tsunade. Susanoo doesn't live except wood style. That's the old grandfather. Here, you can always trust Konoha Kenpachi. Tsunade said confidently, and grandfather Sama, this is the battle of that kid, you still don't go. With this effort, I will take you to Konoha village. Decades have passed. If you look at the current Konoha, you won't think that Bajian's reforms are wrong. Also, if it were you, you would definitely like to entertain a street casino. That's the perfect Susanoo. Nope. First generation was stunned. Can that little guy really stop it? He was still a little worried. Complete body is indeed very strong, but I can assure you, who also has Susanoo, that thing just looks bluffing in front of Kensang. Itachi walked over and said with great certainty, Master First Generation, I also think it's good not to disturb Jansong. After all, even if you get involved in his battle, he will die. Take advantage of the resurrection, take a look at Konoha village. This sounds a bit curse. First Generation gave a wry smile. I'm really sorry, I really don't have the idea of visiting Konoha at this time as a shadow. Even if I don't participate in it, can I go and watch it in case of accidents? Perfect Susanoo. In the forest, Bajian still pointed at Madara with a knife. But the man in front kicked the long knife Bajian had given him to the side. The blue light on his body looked terrifying. Be horrified, shaking under this complete body Susanoo. Certainly, The huge chakra slowly takes shape on Uchiha Madara's body, armor, lightsaber, wings behind him. Madara smiled wildly inside the diamond-shaped lone on the Tengu-like head. In the end, he made a fist, and the highly exaggerated Susanoo was completely formed. Synonymous with destruction. Everyone who has seen this trick is dead. When Madara faced Yi Bajian, she expressed her attitude. Don't say I bully. Holding his shoulders, Susanoo slowly touched the chakra lightsaber on his waist. After all, you just said that I am not good at swordsmanship. He tilted his head. Proud like Madara, how can you choose to catch a weapon given to yourself by others? Give back what the kid said just now, just rely on this to fully understand Susanoo. Susanoo is huge, but his speed is not slow, when the chakra lightsaber smashed against Bajian with a breathtaking light. The Night Owl squad running from a distance, Tsunade, and Senju Hashirama and others looked at this in horror. Screen. Is this perfect body? Itachi swallowed, and he seemed to realize that he should take back what he had said before. Complete body and mature body. The difference is not a star and a half. Blow down. Mother Earth let out an unwilling gasp. The entire dead forest started a violent earthquake. Cracked, broken. Personal strength is enough to rewrite the entire map. The smoke spreads in all directions finally, when the chakra lightsaber appeared in front of them again. The people in the Night Owl team breathed a sigh of relief. The man is still standing there and it is even more exaggerated. He just held the golden cross sword horizontally in the air with one hand, and his body did not shake at all. Blocked the chakra lightsaber. Call spit out the stale air, and grabbed the wine gourd with his empty hand and poured it violently. I want to push back with one hand. Chakra lightsaber and Susanoo Pingjing were abruptly retreated a few steps. Please, fight with all your strength, at least, let me pull out the real knife, because I don't want to end this battle with this weapon. The pupils contracted, and the evil spirits and wild nature were finally awakened under the complete body Susanoo. The fighting spirit of that scary man, finally set off. Ed, thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 186. It should be shocking enough to capture Uchiha Madara alive, right? Susanoo's attack was blocked. Not only blocked it, but also pushed the entire Susanoo back. What a power this is! Seeing this scene before him, first Hokage Senju Hashirama was shocked and didn't know what to say. The person who knows you best is your opponent. From the Sengoku period to the establishment of Konoha, Senju Hashirama fought against Uchiha Madara countless times. He knows the strength of the opponent very well, especially after Madara got the eyes of his brother Uchiha Izuna. His strength skyrocketed again, and the complete body Susanoo in front of him was even stronger. But obviously, Senju Hashirama is equally confident in his own strength. Sage Mode. Wood Style. The body of the fairy, comparable to Nine Tails Chakra. These are what he can rely on to fight against the complete body Susanoo. Rao now, he still remembers the battle in the Valley of End. The battle directly changed the terrain. Madara controls Nine Tails and uses Prestige Susanoo, and he uses Sage Mode's Shinsu Senju to fight the opponent fiercely. In the end he won. But those who win always feel that there are some unreal illusions. Now Hashirama can see that the outcome of that battle seems to be within Madara's premeditated plan. And obviously, the so-called death is not the real death. Just like the lines of reincarnation in his eyes at the moment. Madara got something in that battle at this moment. He didn't know if he could still suppress Madara, but he always felt that only he could stop Madara. But at this moment, another person appeared. He also suppressed Madara, who is completely Susanoo. Why? Just a small sword in your hand. How did he do that? Senju Hashirama was lost in thought. That man seemed to have mastered power beyond chakra. What a terrible power. Madara in Susanoo's eyes was astonished. The draw sword, which represents destruction, didn't even split that man in half. What is even more bizarre is that even the land under the man's feet is intact, and the only thing damaged is the forest around him. What is the principle? Dong Yue just checked that the September 13th carat lightsaber was pushed back and the power carried on it could be pushed back. It seems. He still underestimated the kid. Stabilize the body, pull out two chakra lightsabers with both hands at the same time, and the arms stretched out from the wings on the back turned into chakra knives. 4 chakra lightsabers held in hand at the same time. In an instant, this came from the Uchiha clan's powerful destruction machine station to reveal the lineup. Fight? This feeling has never been felt except for fighting Hashirama. Madara, who was standing in the diamond-shaped square of Susanoo, became emotional. Enjoy a fun battle. The only regret is that I used the body turned from the dirty soil. But, kid. The 4 lightsabers pointed at the figure flying into the air. As a reward for pleasing me, I will remember your name. Blow down. The real battle begins. The huge Susanoo danced with a lightsaber, but he didn't have any intention of avoiding the figure in the air. Every time he attacked, he chose to use the knife in his hand to block it. The buzzing of the chakra lightsaber and the knife against each other, from the death forest to the entire Konoha. The central tower in the distance has been trembling. It can be expected that if the distance is getting closer, I am afraid this place has already begun to collapse. Is this the power of Uchiha Madara? Susanoo, the legendary power. Too exaggerated, but compared to Nasu Sanohe, I am afraid it is Bajien-sama who is really afraid. It's too strong, it's not a dimension of strength at all. The huge dancing figure of Susanoo was naturally seen clearly by the ninjas and villagers. The first time they saw this level of battle scenes, they even felt that they weren't ninjas at all compared to each other. Too strong. Whether it is Konoha Kenpachi or Uchiha Madara. They all left enough shock in their hearts. Compared with these two people, both Obito, 4th generation, and Kakashi in the fight above the central tower, or Orochimaru and 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen in the confrontation look bleak. Not to mention the Chunin exam that is still ongoing. At the moment, Sakura and Ino are standing on the court, looking a little confused. Are they really fighting? If it is a fight, how can the confrontation between two people in the distance be explained? The power of God. Ino put his hands on his chest and looked around, and suddenly smiled at little Sakura. You have won this battle, and I have gained enough in this Chunin exam. Pointed to his lips. Ino tilted his head, and chose to abstain from Sakura's puzzled eyes. What happened? Little Sakura's face is confused. What is the gain that Ino said? Happy. Ha ha ha, happy, this is the fight. The feeling of blood boiling has not passed for many years. Such a powerful chakra, the power of the chakra knife. It's like falling into madness. The man who smashed Susanoo's weapon back in the air suddenly roared. Such swordsmanship, although I still can't get my Yi Bajian's approval. But among those who fought with me, no one is above you. I, Yi Bajian, would like to call you the strongest. This kid Madara suddenly lowered her shoulders with her hands, and squeezed her fists. Such a thing was said by a kid. What he just remembered just now was preemptively said again. Who do you think you are? You deserve to talk about me, Uchiha Madara. My Madara. Holding what he wanted to say, the angry Madara lifted all 4 arms at the same time and fell heavily. This is Susanoo's heaviest cut, Susanoo, Dance of the 4 Swords. Blow down. Hum. 4 chakra knives aimed at a fierce attack, although not as rewritten as the difficulty of the tail beast. The scope of the map is huge, but the victory lies in its stronger power against a single attack. Chakra outbreak Susanoo also began to shake his distance, and the surrounding air seemed to stagnate. For 3 full seconds, the space shock swept away in all directions. The entire forest of death fell into real silence. Annihilated. Withered. The trees were decomposed into a vacuum zone by the shock that was visible to the naked eye. And the central tower was immediately surrounded by countless ninjas in Anbu, a circular barrier. Ran rises. This is the Anbu Union enchantment. That's the case, the turbulence obviously made the central tower sway. Fortunately, with the efforts of Anbu ninja, the shock passed. Can look around, the dead forest has turned into smoke and dust. The ability to rewrite the map. Super combat power that Cage level does not possess. So, don't be super Cage level. One person can rewrite the battle. This is the best adjective for Chaoying's combat effectiveness. A long time. The smoke dissipated. Uchiha Madara's Susanoo still stands proudly in the sky, keeping 4 knives in hand and smashing into the air. Posture. People stared nervously, and the investigator who owned Byakugan was taken aback. Master 5th Hokage is still there. Cheers came. People are relieved. Only Luosha and I look lonely. Is it true? Even Uchiha Madara is not the opponent of that kid? In the air, the opposing parties fell silent. Uchiha Madara's face is a little stiff. The man in front of him doesn't move. He jumped the 4 chakra lightsabers together, and then naturally caught his 4 with one hand. Dance of the sword. Caught and didn't pay any price. Do not. There is a price. Click. A clear cracking sound came into the ears of Uchiha Madara and Yi Bajian. The small cross sword that resisted the Susanoo lightsaber broke slowly in the middle. After all, it's just a mortal thing. The man in front of him sighed slightly, caught the small sword and stroked it. You have grown up, Mr. Madara, but don't be complacent just because you broke this sword. Please keep your humility, because, put away the sword. Bajian suddenly raised his head. The war intent in his eyes makes Uchiha Madara instinctively want to avoid it. This sounded particularly harsh. Smash a sword? I am Uchiha Madara. The 4 chakra lightsabers pressed down, and Madara, who could no longer remain calm, wanted to kill this for the first time. Personal. People who deny his ideas. The power even surpassed his people. Why don't you listen to me and finish talking? Bajian sighed slightly. Because you gave me a reason to draw the sword. Huh. Zanpakuto fell into his hands, completely different from the previous jokes. This time, his eyes changed drastically as Itachi said. When holding a knife, he will be transformed into a beast. One knife. Just a cut. The 4 chakra lightsabers held by Susanoo broke instantly. How can it be? Staring at the broken lightsaber, Madara opened her mouth to say something. Is this broken? What was the battle just now? You should not be good at swordsmanship. Don't say I bully you. Suddenly remembered what the man said just now. That's not a pretense. The battle continues. Having already drawn his sword, Bajian seemed to have changed himself after he had completely entered the state. After smashing the chakra lightsaber, his body suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Suzunohe's head. Madara's reaction was not slow. When Bajian rushed over, he blocked the broken chakra knife on his head. But when he was fighting with the opponent, Bajian had already fully understood Suzunohe's defense. Although the complete body looks a lot more Haki than the mature bodies of Itachi and Shisui, the substantial defense is still vulnerable to a blow in front of his sword. Of course, this is probably because the smashing effect of Bajian's third leveling feature is too overbearing. Cause this situation brushed two knives. Susanoo's two arms broke instantly. Too late to replenish chakra, Bajian's figure is already close. No solution anymore. Reach out. The ball fan with a sickle appeared in his hand. Bajian abandoned Susanoo Madara's straight smashing into Susanube's swordsmanship has nothing to do with his own swordsmanship. The clash of Shenkui and Uchiha fan shone a different kind of fire. The sky in the east was already bright, and the two figures kept intertwining. It's just that the hardness of the Uchiha group fan is indeed somewhat super flat, Bajian's expectation. Husband Kun-sama, this fan has the breath of a sacred tree. Seeing Bajian's doubts, Kagaya in the spiritual space said, "Sacred tree?" Bajian was stunned. This thing seems to be forged by a part of the sacred tree. That being the case, a blue light flashed in his eyes, and Tensigan slowly appeared in his pupils like a vast universe. Kang. Once again hitting the Tuan fan, Bajian pointed his eyes to Madara, who was close at hand. "Do you know? What do you know?" Madara looked at Bajian's eyes warily. "Beyond the eyes of cognition, you can even think of Rinnegan from the pressure inside. There is no doubt that there is a problem with the other person's eyes. Actually, it doesn't need to be so laborious." Truth-seeking balls appeared behind him. The special chakra mode began to take shape. Chakra mode in a blink of an eye. Unlike Ōtsutsuki's forgiveness, Bajian's Tensigan chakra mode is pure blue. "I'm just afraid that the power of the runaway is too strong, and I will kill you completely all at once." With a sigh, the weird lines extend from the arms to the body of the knife. Bai Jing catches Uchiha Madara alive. "If you say it, you will be amazed." Crying. The hand holding the knife slammed hard, and the chain collided with a buzzing sound. Time seemed to fall into a weird stillness. Everything in the space is like being held by Bajian. Absolutely in control. A close knife. A simple and unpretentious knife. It is also Bajian's most trusted flat cut. The momentary stillness re-advanced. Madara was shocked to find that the Uchiha fan in his hand was broken into pieces. And that man, already standing behind him, put the knife back into its sheath and picked up the wine gourd. Swish swish. Suddenly, 4 sword lights flashed by. The seemingly delayed attack swept across Madara's limbs, and in an instant, he lost control of his hands and feet. The 4 cheating stems turned into gangsters and were inserted directly into the joints. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Seems to have lost the ability to resist. Madara turned her head stiffly to look at the man. Swordsmanship never heard of, it's almost time. His ability. Withdrawing the knife, Bajian glanced at the central tower in the distance and walked in front of Madara step by step. "It's still the same posture when I came," squeezed Madara's neck and grabbed him into the air. "I'll talk to you in detail later. Now, I'm going to confirm one thing." Whoosh. The figure flew to the sky. The first Hokage in the distance below and the Konoha shinobi who were together in case of accidents are completely sluggish. Look around here. The battle between two people really rewrote the map. What a power this is. Hashirama sighed with a wry smile. "Shao Sun, I think I should listen to you. It's really better to go to Konoha village when you have this time and see how the village has changed much better than this. How should I put it, it's a bit of a blow." After a pause, looking at Tsunade. First generation stroked his chin again. "But Tsunade, the Senju clan is only you. What to do in the future, after?" Tsunade flipped through Byakugan, and suddenly he approached his grandfather and said something. His face flushed slightly. First generation looked at his granddaughter suspiciously. "Well, you just want to be happy. The scene is a bit messy." Carrying Madara to the central square, Bajian glanced at him a little bewildered. Obito is being beaten back by Minato and Kakashi. And third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is playing tug of war with Orochimaru. The so-called tug of war game is nothing more than ghouls. After all, I'm old, it's not easy to get Orochimaru's soul out of the seal. Shaking his head, he didn't bother to control the situation. Bajian fell into the field and used his Zanpakuto to aim at those watching. Tasteful shadows and the leaders of the villages, everyone. Following the battle for unification just mentioned, Seping, haven't you given me an answer yet? Snapped. Throwing Madara to the ground 3.9, but struggling, he looked at a spot with all his strength and nodded. The ninjas finally came back to God. Fighting, Seping is over? No, not the horrified ninjas looked at Yi Bajian who was murderous and didn't know what to say. The changes in the distance also attracted everyone's attention. In between, Shinigami, who was in a tug-of-war with Orochimaru, suddenly glanced at Bajian and then followed like. This dad disappeared instantly like a ghost, and he is the real Shinigami. The last clone has been completely killed, he's not so stupid to stay here. This is a small episode, it's just that Orochimaru and third generation are a little daunted, one who was already prepared to be generous. Going to death, the other fights against this pull, but now it seems that it doesn't make sense at all. But the real change did not come from there, it was a low, half-dead roar from a distance. Looking closely, Nagato, who had been beaten by Bajian before, turned into black. Black Zetsu? Bajian suddenly realized, outside? Round revolving heaven technique, the green light fell on Madara's body. A fresh body, a new vigor, a beating heart, breaking apart the truth-seeking ball stuck in her body, Madara suddenly smiled and got up, and took it and got out from the ground. Rinnegan, who came from Black Zetsu, installed it, although the order is wrong. But, this resurrection is completely under the control of my Uchiha Madara. Wheel. Snapped. Bang, unfortunately, the voice just fell off. The man slapped him back to the ground with a slap. He even smashed the shadows of the prison on the edge of the tomb to pieces. He is Shinigami, those phantoms of the round hell are worse than a divided soul body, even if. Without Rinnegan, he could perceive it, not to mention that he had Tensigen of the same level as Rinnegan to re-subdue Uchiha Madara. I ask you one last time, choose to surrender or die. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 187 Summoning Technique, Ōtsutsuki Kagaya. The wheel is invalid for this man. The unique move that looked back was solved instantly. Using Lunmu to split his own shadow, he was confident that he couldn't even notice other than Rinnegan. But it still failed. The only possibility is that the opponent's eye level is equal to Rinnegan. What is going on in this resurrection? He saw too many things beyond his control, and the person in front of him was obviously different from all the fighting powers in the ninja world he knew. Why a perfect plan will fail completely? Why on earth? Geto statue has no need to summon. Because in front of this man, he couldn't go down and catch the tail beast. The final hole card is invalid, he can only consider other options. Evacuate. Why'd I have this idea? That is the thought that only the weak have, why'd I have the idea of retreat? I am Uchiha Madara. Madara on the ground struggled to stand up, and the new body she had just acquired had adapted. But the man shook his arm without looking back, and thrust the knife in front of him. There seemed to be countless dead souls appearing inside, biting his body. What kind of knife is this? Master Madara, now we can only retreat temporarily. The current situation is completely clear. Just by looking at the expressions of the leaders of Shinobu village, you know that the era of Konoha's unification is coming. Madara has been resurrected, and Rinnegan has returned. Their plan did not completely fail. The most correct choice is to retreat temporarily and wait for the moment. Is it only this level? Madara frowned, he naturally didn't want to retreat. That comes from the self-esteem of the strong. Especially looking at the man's sprinkling of pointers. Zhang Shan is trying the way he wanted to do before. Unite. This feeling is not good. If you stand there, the person wearing the Naruto cloak is himself. Madara's eyes were gradually lost. I shook my head suddenly, the distracting thoughts disappeared instantly, lowered my head and looked at Black Zetsu. Your own consciousness has become the only thing you can rely on. But Black Zetsu was admonishing himself to retreat. 04. Is my consciousness already acquiescing that there is nothing I can do at the moment? Master Madara, the temporary withdrawal is not afraid of him. Black Zetsu, who knows Uchiha Madara very well, spoke quickly. You also know that there is no way to display infinite Tsukuyomi in the empty state of the Geto statue. Although Yi Bajian is very strong, he is still immortal and is trying to meet him in a mortal way. Peace, he will still fail in the end. After a pause, Black Zetsu continued to persuade, since you are immortal, you will die. And you have round eye protection. You can't resurrect once, but you can second. Second, and even if he is alive, we can't do anything. The third time. No matter how strong he is, there is only one person after all. You don't have to worry about the other people in Konoha, he can protect. Only this village is here. Choose the right time and destroy the other Shinobu villages one by one. That is our chance. After speaking in one breath, Black Zetsu said all the ways he could think of to deal with it. As a 1,000-year-old, his life tends to be infinite. Force. Bring a dutiful son. Black Zetsu would rather wait 1,000 years to save his mother. Originally conscious Madara failed, there are many Indra waiting for him. And Madara doesn't necessarily fail in the end as long as Yi Bajian is killed, the world will still be shrouded in infinite Tsukuyomi. At this moment, he is surprisingly consistent with the previous Reikage mentality. We can't beat you, but you can't live a lifetime. Waiting for you to die. This ninja world is still torn apart after all. Who will live longer? It's done. Now just persuade Madara not to be tough, everything else is easy to deal with. My consciousness is persuading me to retreat, but what he said seems to make sense. Madara finally lowered her head, the confusion in her eyes turned into firmness. He hasn't failed yet, old, absolute control. Seal up. But just when he was about to turn and leave like Black Zetsu said, a low drink came in an instant. The Zanpakuto inserted in front of Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu suddenly exudes strange waves. Time is still, the bodies of Madara and Black Zetsu are frozen. Still. Tenseigen's ability, a new method that cooperates with the abilities of Zanpakuto Shikai. The greater the difference in strength, the longer it will be in control. Madara owns Rinnegan, and the period of sealing is not long or short enough. Bajian will have a good talk with him after dealing with the problems in the 5 ninja villages. I just told you, I'll talk in detail later. Walking to Madara, Bajian patted him on the face, then glanced at Black Zetsu and turned around again. Just what ability? Consciousness is still there. But the body can't move, can't mobilize chakra ability to surpass Rinnegan? At this moment, Madara finally agreed with Bajian's eyes. Close to the subject. Come to the shadows again. What's the answer? The shadows and the leader of the small and medium-sized ninja village looked at each other and finally remained silent. The answer is already obvious, and this man's goal of capturing Uchiha Madara alive in front of him has also been achieved. Now it just needs someone to stand up and speak up. The most important thing is that these shinobu villages are already under the control of Konoha. And Shaji Yi Bajian just pulled the matter to the surface, and finally forced Cloud Shinobi Village, Iwagakure Village. They understand these, so now is not the time for them to speak. 5th Hokage. Silent for a while, the person who finally stood up was Onogi. He already understood. If you don't give Yi Bajian an answer today, they will all die here. The murderous aura emanating from that man can already be clearly felt. He has no patience to continue playing, and Da-ai shook his head and let out a long sigh. It seems to have no meaning to resist whether you wanted to die by Yi Bajian before coming, or conspiring with several other shadows after he came to Konoha. It had no meaning at the moment. Rely on each other? People don't have that patience anymore. He is more decisive than Uchiha Madara, turning the Chunin exam into an alternative 5 shadow talk. But this time in the 5 shadows talks, the first Hokage who chose to bow his head has no right to express his position, and it has become the solo show of 5th Hokage Yi Bajian. As to whether Orochimaru's plan worked, and then take the opportunity to attack? The answer is not obvious anymore. Shiba Madara is already immobile at the moment. They have no choice. 5th Hokage, after looking at Joe, Onogi shouted again. Iwagakure, agree to go to Konoha. As the 3rd Tsuchikage, I declare an unconditional surrender. A few more wrinkles were added to his face. Difficult to speak out the inner thoughts. Surrender. The old stubborn surrendered. Raikage smiled wryly and looked at Luo Sha.
Sure enough, there is no choice. There is only one way ahead.
Return to Konoha. Cloud Shinobi Village surrendered unconditionally. Sitting on the ground in a decadent manner, as a shadow, like Onoki, Tsuchikage, it became extremely difficult to speak. Sand Shinobi Village is the same. Luo Sha is simply nothing else. It was still a thought during the 3rd Ninja World War. Relative to the Land of Thunder and the Land of Earth, the loss of the Kingdom of Wind is the lowest, and if only Sand Shinobi Village is left among the rebels, the result can be imagined. He is not that stupid. Surrender, surrender unconditionally. Compared to them, Terumi Mei is the most generous one. I walked straight to the ground on one knee in front of Yi Bajian. At this moment, this kind of etiquette from the subordinate to the boss is the attitude expressed by Kirigakure. And her behavior is also transmitted around like a signal. Onoki sighed and put down his last dignity and knelt on one knee. Immediately afterwards, Need Shadow, Wind Shadow. After that, it was the leaders of Shinobu not far away who were watching the show. The light of the east has officially come. Shinayu's sun overlooks the earth with warmth. And the scene of the central tower is officially printed in everyone's mind. The leaders who are on one knee and the man standing proudly in the forefront are the best signals to end the troubled times. The ninjas under the central tower also slowly lean down, expressing their respect to the man. No need to say anything, just calm down. That man, shining brightly at the moment. Do you want to fight? Not far away, Kakashi and Minato grabbed Obito's hand tightly. And this time, Obito's gaze has been focused on the man, and Kamui has not been activated. He did not respond to Kakashi and Minato. Mangekyo Sharingan is full of confusion. Why? Why has he been fantasizing that he is standing there at the moment? Some even couldn't control his legs, and wanted to worship the figure. This world, does he really want to destroy it? It seems that from beginning to end, he just wants to be recognized, right? Lower your head. Obito didn't know what he was thinking. Such a pity. The person in the distance is not Uzumaki Naruto, but Yi Bajian. That person would never wash him off, and he doesn't need to wash it off. He is Obito. For one person to dare to fight the whole world. He raised his head and looked at Madara in the distance. That was the last strongest in Obito's heart. If what Kakashi said before is true, so what is he in Madara's eyes? In the previous fight, he thought about Kakashi's words again and again. This is why he is confused. On the other side, the confrontation between Orochimaru and 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen also ended. Sarutobi, with the pheasant sword stuck in his body, sighed, and silently took a sip from the big pipe, and spit out. The smoke looked towards Orochimaru. This is the disciple he once considered an excellent disciple. Like him, Orochimaru was already exhausted at this time, but second Hokage Chin next to him. Tobirama keeps fighting stance, but now, Orochimaru has not controlled him. His eyes flickered and he remained silent. Seping didn't want to break the warm atmosphere in the sun because of her own movement. What's the point of fighting? Feel. A long time. The man moved, waving his arms high to face the sun. His smile was imprinted in everyone's minds. I announced as the fifth Hokage. From today, there is no intrigue, and no endless death in this world. The war in the ninja world is over. The war is over. After a brief silence, cheers resounded across the sky. Many excited ninjas shed tears. Is it peaceful? No matter how long it lasts. But now all this is what they want to see. There was not much bloodshed, and there was not much dispute. Ended the struggle in this world in a crude and clumsy manner. The next thing to see is how he changes, to change the pattern of mutual hatred. But now, they just want to cheer, want to celebrate. No matter which side you belong to, whether there was a huge hatred in the past, they can high-five and shout for peace at the person next to them. The ideal world. Jiraiya in the distance stretched out his thumb. The well-deserved son of prophecy. It's him. The Yishao team expressed their sincere respect. Jonsong Itachi bowed respectfully to Bajian's figure. He made it 847 and turned into his own shadow, also proud. This road is not easy. Without determination and patience, it is impossible to get to this point. Uchiha Itachi is the witness of everything. Witness the change of Jianeng's mentality, witness the growth of strength, and witness the beginning of one powerful measure after another. He saw too many things, something more intuitive than anyone else. Perhaps the kind of feeling Jonsong once said was standing behind the peak and accompanied by someone behind him. First Hokage, who rushed over in a hurry, had gratification in his eyes. It turned out that there was only a wall between Hepping and him. But he didn't have the courage to break through that wall. And now, that man did what he didn't. Konoha's fifth Hokage. The next thing is up to you, teacher. Pointing to the leaders who surrendered, Bajian turned and walked towards Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu. Grab one in one hand. The man Sihei remembered something and looked at the stunned Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama. You guys come here too. All the way forward, I came to Konoha's Hokage Rock. Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama didn't say anything along the way. Excluding first generation's talk, second generation's opinions on Yi Bajian have disappeared at this moment. Such a person is indeed as the monkey said. His merit list alone cannot match the power of Naruto. The credit beyond Naruto of the past dynasties. Huiying Rock, where the dream started. Hashirama stood on it with open hands, while Tobirama stood beside him. Untie. Squeezing a seal with one hand, Bajian lifted the blockade between Madara and Black Zetsu. And for the first time, Black Zetsu already thought of running away. Unfortunately, while he was moving, the black Zanpakuto had been put on his neck. Black Zetsu didn't doubt whether this thing was capable of destroying him. Because that's nonsense. Boy. Baring his teeth, Black Zetsu showed a fierce look as much as possible, but his face is true. Somewhat ridiculous. I suggest you change your name. Bajian smiled friendly at Black Zetsu. For example, you can call my father my lord. Your father? Several people present were dumbfounded. Even Madara, who was next to him, who didn't plan to escape, was stunned. Black Zetsu is his consciousness. Then if Yi Bajian is called father. Isn't it? Frowning, Madara touched her stomach. Don't think about it, everyone. The next thing is beyond your imagination. Tilting his head, Bajian retracted the knife placed on Black Zetsu's neck, and then quickly nodded his hands and patted towards him. Ground. Summoning technique. Ōtsutsuki Kagaya. Because of the cooling down, the young author unfortunately caught a cold again. There is no way to code words in a dizzy state. This is the case today. In addition, well, please take a look at the works related to them. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 188 Madara, Konoha was named after you. Boom White Smoke Diffusion said it was summoning technique. In fact, it just releases Kagaya who is attached to the spiritual space. When the white smoke completely dissipated, the person in front of him officially appeared. Gug Langwan has a graceful temperament. Just standing there, you look down on sentient beings like a god above. This is the unique aura of Ōtsutsuki Kagaya, the ancestor of chakra, the goddess of you. Grace. Indifferent. This is everything she showed in front of outsiders. As for the dependence and love, it will only be revealed when facing Bajian. Her tenderness and weakness are destined for Bajian to endure. When Kagaya appeared, everyone fell silent. Just looking at each other and then withdrawing their gazes, that high-profile appearance even made it impossible for them to look at Kagaya. People who are not at the same level are destined to be unable to identify with each other. Come out again. Kagaya looked around and finally fixed his gaze on Black Zetsu. Ōtsutsuki Black Zetsu at this moment, he was stunned. It's a complete dumbfounding. He thought that Infinite Tsukuyomi's plan was hopeless, but he was waiting for 1,000 years of opportunity to release his mother. But this one is undoubtedly his mother. What happened? What happened correct? The kid said that he split the moon. Is it? It doesn't matter anymore. Go to his mother's Infinite Tsukuyomi. My mother has been resurrected. The excited Black Zetsu wanted to say something, but Kaguya's eyes have shifted, and finally fell on Bajin, who summoned her, and then step by step walked to the man and leaned in his arms. This. Black Zetsu swallowed and leaned in front of the two with difficulty. Is he really his father? Hey, call it dad. The calm Bajin stunned Black Zetsu's greasy face. The answer is already obvious. Does Infinite Tsukuyomi still make sense? Kaguya has appeared, which is the signal that Black Zetsu's mother-saving story is over. Opening his mouth, Black Zetsu looked at his mother awkwardly. He is the concubine's husband Kun, Kaguya said lightly. I always feel a little awkward to talk to my own consciousness. But the separated consciousness is equivalent to the new existence, and she can see that the husband Kun-sama doesn't want to count Black Zetsu's consciousness back on her. Maybe the things created casually at the beginning were a little shabby. My father, there is nothing wrong with the breath. Except for some weakness, the person in front of him is his mother. The identity of Yi Bajin has also been confirmed. If you can be called a husband Kun by your mother, he is naturally his father. The front can be put down. Although Black Zetsu doesn't know why this happened, the ending is good for him. Kneeling respectfully in front of Bajin, at this moment Black Zetsu had thought of a submissive child. Through your hard work these years. Patting Black Zetsu's head, Bajin smiled, leave it to me next. In his previous life, Bajin had heard such a sentence. There are no real villains and villains in Naruto world. It seems that everyone can be whitewashed in the end and become a good person. It's like putting down the butcher knife and becoming a Buddha. But Bajin felt that this sentence was wrong. The villain is the villain. He can't be recognized because his purpose is good. For example, Naruto can casually because Pen is a disciple of Jiraiya, and he can forgive him for killing his 2 teachers and so many people in the village. You can also agree with Obito's existence and practice because Obito wanted to be Hokage, and choose to forgive him. This blind recognition is also wrong. In fact, the villains of this world don't need to be whitewashed. They exist for the dream in their hearts, thinking about the problem from their perspective, then everything will be extremely clear. This is the characteristic of those living lives in the world of Naruto, the characteristic that is remembered. So even when these people are watching anime, they can show that he is the real existence in the depths of this land. Bajin's feeling is even more obvious. Illusion. Very simple example. From the perspective of Black Zetsu, is there a problem with his approach? In order to save his mother, he would rather plan for 1,000 years to use others. This approach is worthy of admiration, but he cannot agree with the other party's approach just because he wants to save his mother. Another example is Uchiha Madara. From beginning to end, he was for world peace. In order to achieve this goal, he can even put down his brother's hatred killed by Senju Tobirama and build Konoha together. It's just the ending in exchange. I still don't trust it. Withdrawing his thoughts, Bajin strode towards Uchiha Madara. There are a lot of questions in my mind. Sitting down beside Madara, he hooked his fingers at Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama. This is Hokage Rock. The advantage of the terrain can sit here and see most of Konoha's scenery. But after Konoha has been expanded several times, there is no way to see the whole picture unless you open Byakugan. Who is she? He pointed to Kaguya, who was standing quietly in the distance. When this woman appeared, Madara had an extremely vague premonition. Especially when Black Zetsu, who was clearly created by himself, even called that woman his mother and Yi Bajin called his father, his premonition became even stronger. Before talking about her, let's talk about something else. Bajin shook his head. If the truth of Infinite Tsukuyomi is known by Madara, I am afraid that the blow will not be a star. So before that, he has something to ask Madara. Stretching out his hand, the weak gravitational force aimed at the big tree next to him. A leaf slowly fell into Bajin's hand. This situation is somewhat familiar. Senju Hashirama next to me seems to fall into the memory. That was when Konoha was founded. In the beginning, this village didn't have a name. Holding a leaf in his hand, Bajin flicked a hole in the middle bucket of the leaf. Looking through the hole, the scene of this village is comforting. First Hokage Senju Hashirama decided the village chief's name. The name is Hokage. Putting one hand on Madara's shoulder, Bajin handed the leaves to him. And in the end, the name of this village, you did it. Konoha Village. The name of Konoha Village is from Uchiha Madara. Yes. Perhaps few people know this, but it really does exist. A few decades ago, the two of them stood tall and looked at the village that had just begun to be established. Madara mocked Hashirama's bad name, and Hashirama thinks the name Konoha Village is too ordinary. Besides laughing, this first ninja village was established. At that time, Hashirama also told Madara that Madara would be responsible for the first 1,000 Hokage in the village, and he wanted to carve Madara's face on this Hokage rock. A few decades have passed in a flash. Madara. With a sigh, Hashirama also sat on the ground with some aftertaste. Konoha has changed too much, it's so big that it's almost impossible to recognize the village. Think about it carefully, if you became Hokage back then, it should be a different scene. Hashirama said with emotion. Naruto? Madara's eyes were as cold as ever. There are some things he doesn't want to say, but it doesn't mean he can forget. Bajian shrugged. Senju Hashirama's reaction is still so slow. Naruto. This is Madara Blacken, and intends to open the beginning of Infinite Tsukuyomi. Everything is due to the quarrel between Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama in the room. At that time, Hashirama had planned to let Madara be the first Hokage, but Senju Tobirama's strong opposition and unbelief directly said that the emotionalization of that group would lead the village to destruction. So distrustful. How can this village stay? Not becoming a Hokage means that they can't protect themselves too much. So Madara intends to lead the Uchiha family to stand on their own. Pity. The dull people didn't believe him either, and were unwilling to leave Konoha. So after the second Hokage Senju Tobirama took the position, he encountered unprecedented blows and platoons. In the end, the contradictions of the Nine Tails chaos intensified, causing third generation Danzo, who inherited the will of second generation, to adopt extreme methods and let Itachi slaughter the entire Uchiha clan. And this is the root cause of Uchiha's extermination. The initial contradiction was not resolved because of the village where everyone is located. Second generation's methods have brought this contradiction to a new height. The atmosphere fell silent again. Madara Saping also entered the memory. Bajian beckoned to Senju Tobirama behind him, 5th generation. Tobirama is still so cold. Do you have nothing to say to Madara? Bajian looked at each other calmly. For example, an apology or something. An apology? Let me apologize to the scum who tried to destroy the world? The second master stared angrily. Calm down. Bajian waved his hand and instantly wiped out the ninjutsu on the second master. It's fine to organize him as Hokage, but to say bad things about others is your fault. Uchiha is really easy to be emotional, which is easy to be used by others, just as Madara understands this and uses Obito. Patting Madara on the shoulder, Bajian continued. Because of this, they need a qualified leader. Contradictory, naturally, you agree that Uchiha will always be Konoha's Chiba and treat it fairly. It was resolved. Also, the original intention of the Uchiha guards you set up really made the Uchihas see fairness. 2 words, but the conspiracy contained in it is too pediatric. Pediatrics? The second master was cold-eyed. Let the Uchiha clan become more and more arrogant because of the power of the guards, and let the villagers even more crowded out each other. This method was finally completed. Because you are a shadow, you have never considered the Uchiha clan who founded Konoha. Own person, but try every means to clear the other party. Standing up, Bajian's eyes gradually sharpened. So I said before that you have good political methods and made a lot of contributions to Konoha, but personally. The emotions are too obvious. You know, second generation. The Uchiha clan still works as the guards of Master Konoha, but when the villagers meet them, he would stop and shout with great respect, Master Guard. How could this be? Senju Tobirama was stunned. Do not believe. Side street. The leader is Uchiha Fugaku. Master Fugaku has worked hard. Yes, patrolling like this every day is very tiring. The attitude of the villagers is what shocked Senju Tobirama the most. The guard, who should have been despised, is so respected. It shouldn't. When will the arrogant Uchiha clan get this degree of recognition? Very confused. Bajian smiled. Actually, it's not difficult to change. Because whenever there is an abnormality around the village, the Uchiha security team will go to deal with it as soon as possible. Whoever violates the rules of the village will be arrested and investigated. This is a matter of rules, and it is not that difficult to accept. Especially on the basis that their clan has stricter requirements on their own clan members. Even the villagers have seen more than one time that the guards deal with the Uchiha clan members who violate the rules. So under an absolutely fair system, that kind of grudge will naturally cease to exist. The rules are set by me, and no matter who it is, including myself, I must follow them. Slowly, Bajian took out the wine gourd and took a sip. So, for second generation, do you think my approach is better, or is it better for you to persecute the Uchiha clan towards destruction? There is reason and evidence. Use facts to tell the other party that the Uchiha clan is not a time bomb. Even take advantage of the Zhao's good mood of the Uchiha clan to make them love Konoha more. Is it a political genius? Second generation nodded and said nothing. But another familiar figure stood in front of him. Big brother. 10 looking at Hashirama, the second master swallowed. I seemed to tell you before I was dying, to accept the Uchiha clan and don't treat them as aliens. Tobirama, it seems that you have not kept the promise at all. Having said that, Hashirama seems to understand a few things. My younger brother seemed to have left hidden dangers for the Uchiha clan after he died. If you really follow Tobirama's vision, I am afraid that one day, the contradiction will completely erupt, and then it will definitely cause inevitable disaster. An ethnic group cannot fight against a village. Eventually the Uchiha clan will perish on its own. It doesn't matter, Hashirama. It was Madara who stood up very freely. When the memory also ends, whatever happened to Konoha or what happened to the Uchiha clan, it has nothing to do with him. The name of Konoha village was taken by yourself, so why not take it yourself? Apologize? Uchiha Madara does not need others to apologize to herself. Looking at Yi Bajian, Madara just wants to know one thing. The one Black Zetsu calls mother is your woman. Who is she? 7. When Black Zetsu in the distance heard Madara's words, he stepped back with a shudder. Almost forgot this ancestor. If he knew that he had pitted him for most of his life, he would kill himself in a fit of anger. Ōtsutsuki Kagaya. Thousands of years ago, people called her the goddess of Mao, the ancestor of chakra, who created the goddess of sage of 6 paths. Suddenly patted Madara's head, and Bajian grinned. The so-called infinite Tsukuyomi was finally resurrected. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 189. It's so big, look at this world more for me. You just said infinite Tsukuyomi. Madara stared at Yi Bajian tightly. Infinite Tsukuyomi was finally resurrected. What's the meaning? Just as you heard, the so-called infinite Tsukuyomi is not a technique to bring peace to the world, but a prerequisite for the resurrection of Kagaya. Bajian casually explained, the stone stele you saw in the Uchiha Ancestral Hall, the content on it is not the real content left by Sage of 6 Paths. He changed it. Pointing to Black Zetsu, Bajian sold his godson directly. He is not your consciousness, but Kaguya's consciousness, inducing you to open the opportunity of infinite Tsukuyomi. Well, you may not understand it that way. Probably you see Obito as a pawn, but Black Zetsu also sees you as a pawn. As for Kagaya, it is the mother of Sage of 6 Paths and Black Zetsu, who was sealed by her son thousands of years ago and left Black Zetsu. Infinite Tsukuyomi is the way to unlock the seal. Pointing to the sky, Bajian continued. The sealed location is the moon above your head. Unfortunately, I went to the moon in a boring idle day and smashed the moon in two by the way. So there is no need to launch infinite Tsukuyomi now. The Konoha you see right now is synonymous with peace. Deadly silence. Madara's breathing went from steady to bloodshot eyes, and finally turned into rapid anger. Then to the final despair and confusion. He seemed to experience a lot in an instant. Infinite Tsukuyomi. Not a technique to bring peace. Is it a conspiracy against yourself? How did he accept this kind of thing? Planning the return of decades of resurrection. What am I living for? Looking at her hands, Madara's brain is blank. Yi Bajian has no reason to lie to him. A strong man, especially one who can defeat himself at will, has no reason to deceive himself. So about infinite Tsukuyomi's true thoughts, Madara can only choose to believe. He is not a fool. When he saw Black Zetsu's attitude towards that woman, he knew something was wrong. The truth is too cruel. It is also true that it cannot be accepted for a while. Sitting on the ground decayingly, Uchiha Madara suddenly found that everything he did had lost its purpose. Peace. With a long sigh, Hashirama squeezed to Madara's side. Maybe only now, Madara can have a quiet chat with herself. Column 563. Slowly raising her head to look at the man next to her, Madara's confused eyes made Hashirama a little at a loss. For the first time, he saw this man lose his fighting spirit. What is the meaning of my existence? Pointing to his own Rinnegan, and tearing open the clothes on his chest, Hashirama's face also looks a little bit on it. Confused. After several decades of planning, it was only a dream for me in the end. Now dreaming, what can I do? The peace I insist on. Did not go to Black Zetsu to settle the accounts. Madara, who was decadent, had only bitterness in her heart. Hey, this is not like you. Hashirama patted Madara on the shoulder, and then naturally grabbed his finger towards Konoha. Regardless of whether infinite Tsukuyomi can really bring peace, do you think that is still important? Konoha in front of you, isn't it the village you and I were discussing beside the river in Nani River? It doesn't matter if you don't do it yourself. Entrust the belief in peace to the younger generations, and the younger generations can learn from experience and lessons. Sum up how to pave the way. Like Tobirama's wrong demonstration of the Uchiha family, 5th generation has changed that kind of status quo. She shook Madara's hand again, and Hashirama felt happy. Whether it is you or me, both have their own path. If your path is unworkable, you can try to go. Don't help. After being dead, you are now resurrected. If you can help me see the current Konoha, and tell me when you die again. What did you see? Just treat it as our agreement. Stretching out his fist and hammering Madara's chest in her face, Hashirama felt a little funny. Sometimes my opponent is not so unreasonable, it's just a little childish. Well, I'm just like him. Is infinite Tsukuyomi not important anymore? Madara's eyes regained a gleam. Yes. Right now, peace has arrived 7204 and no one knows how long this peace will last. If it can, it will turn into a guardian of peace. It is also a good thing, but, do I have that chance? Madara looked at what Bajian was about to say, but a few figures in the distance are walking towards this side. Orochimaru, who lost his fighting spirit, was captured and brought to justice, and 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was covered in blood, and Bajian's Night Owl team, and Tsunade. Uchiha Obito came along with him. Like Orochimaru, his body has been engraved. Sealing technique. Kakashi is holding him. Minato didn't come. Bai Jing is responsible for receiving information from the major ninja villages, and he should be busy until late. Moreover, the Chunin exam in the central tower is still going on and needs to be supervised. Generation Lord. Sarutobi seemed a little uncomfortable with Bajian's current title, and paused for a while and shouted. Orochimaru said to see you, snake first cattle. Bajian nodded and stood in front of the opponent. He seemed to have given up resistance. In such a world, wanting to continue to be a villain seems to have no intention. Bajian-kun. Orochimaru nodded to Bajian, and Orochimaru sighed. Although I don't know what you will do with me, if I say to please you, I have done it to the extreme. Limited. So before that, I want to ask you a question. The peace at the moment has indeed arrived, but how do you deal with your aging and loss of unification in the future? The situation of governance? A very deep question? It is also a problem that Orochimaru has been trying to avoid all his life. Yang Niu. I know what you want to ask, but what I can tell you is. Time has no concept for me, even as long as I want to seal up a person's time. The passage is also a flick of a finger. Do you know what this means? The eyes flowed, and there was an endless universe under the blue eyes. Tenseigion's abilities are combined with God's Shab to release, and time stands still. And this method of depriving others of the passage of time is immortality. His eyes have not yet developed to ultimate, but freezing a person's time is not very difficult. Immortality is immortal. Orochimaru's eyes became frenzied. It's not that you don't turn a corpse into a cow, you need to consume energy and soul power to live for a long time. Forbidden technique is eternal life in the true sense. Think, do you want it? With a bewitching voice, Bajian at the moment looks like a magic stick. Do you want it? Orochimaru looked at Bajian in amazement. Even the third generation who was covered in wounds was dumbfounded. Think. Nodding fiercely, Orochimaru said quickly. Master fifth generation, I'm afraid. Orochimaru, who was finally caught, are you going to let him go now? Even looking at what Bajian means, do you want to give Orochimaru a chance? The third generation was confused and couldn't understand Yi Bajian's brain circuit at all. Oh, I almost forgot you. Bajian slapped his head and looked at Sarutobi. Before, you used a ghoul seal on Orochimaru, right? It was used. But something embarrassing is that Shinigami fandom suddenly ran away when he saw Yi Bajian. Not only Orochimaru's soul, but also his own soul and Tobirama-sensei's soul. Go and run. Yes, my faith hasn't wavered as I get older. He patted third generation on the shoulder, and Bajian thought for a moment. You are worthy of being a shadow. Willing to sacrifice for Konoha is worthy of leaving his name on the wall of merit. On the wall? Sarutobi is very excited, but third generation, I haven't seen the value and significance of Orochimaru's existence until now. After affirming, Bajian shook his head again. Is the human experiment he studied really harmless? Killing him, it is far from keeping his life and putting research on useful aspects as cost-effective. Degree. Once you didn't support him in researching the cells of first generation, it's just that everything needs to be. Looking back on Orochimaru's body, Bajian punched him. AEFC, in the chest, it hurts. Orochimaru flipped over. Byakugan almost fainted. The pain is affirmative, but no special force was used, otherwise this punch is enough to make a small snake. Sister's life. Tsunade, he will leave it to you. Within 2 years, I will see Konoha's medical level improve by 1 level. Second rate, work hard. When your credit can offset your mistakes and make outstanding contributions, I will give. Your chance of eternal life. Finally patted Orochimaru on the shoulder, and Bajian looked back at Konoha. Everything in front of me is finally done. His Konoha. His village. His world. However, the contradiction between two people has just begun to break out. Turning their heads too far, Obito and Madara in the distance have begun their own confrontation. What the hell am I to you? Obito, who had already taken off the mask, stared at Madara and asked, as if he wanted to find the answer from Madara's face. Pawn. Otherwise, unfortunately, Obito finally found the wrong person. From Madara's final collaborator, companion, the vocabulary is impossible to hear, unless you can beat Madara, like Bajian. So the straight steel man answered very honestly. Peace. Tell you if you want to know. This is me, Uchiha Madara. I took advantage of you, and I think you were useless. Chess piece. Obito was breathing quickly, and his body was already unstable because he swallowed White Zetsu's body and soul. Lie trembling. So, Lin's death. Even with the soul, the feeling of tearing began to appear. The soul of White Zetsu, who was suppressed by will in the past, began to fight back fiercely. I did it. Madara remained calm. As he said, he is Uchiha Madara, who has done countless evils throughout his life. Even use Obito's feelings to make him blacken. But Obito, I don't think you like Rin Nohara that much either. Showing contempt from Uchiha Madara. You have countless opportunities to revive Lin with my eyes, right? No matter how bad, impure world reincarnation can talk to her. Why did you not do anything? Why did I not do anything? There are some doubts. There are many ways of resurrection. But in the end Obito did not resurrect Lin. Is it because of the heart spell, or is it because of Black Zetsu's surveillance? Bajian didn't know. Also a little confused. If there was no way to do that before, it was because of Nagato's strength that he couldn't take Rinnegan away. But after killing Conan in the original book, he still did not choose to find a release wheel, revolving heaven, to resurrect. Why on earth? Courage, the heart beat violently. Obito looked back stiffly at Kakashi, knowing why he exists. He no longer has the faith to live. Originally, Bajian Zanpakuto's injury to the soul could not be suppressed, but now it has become more serious. Exhausting his last strength, Obito spouted blood. She stretched out her hand trembling to Kakashi. Kakashi. Help me and Mrs. Minato. Apologize, Obito. Those who fall into despair have no choice to turn back. He is Uchiha Obito. He lives for one person. Now that the dream is shattered, he has no faith in living. The pain of the tearing of the soul became numb, but the scars left on the body became insensible. Boom. Finally, at the moment of confusion, he saw the person in the dream. This time, he had the courage to confess to her instead. Goodbye, Kakashi. He is an unforgivable person. Madara is too. But Madara still has a living belief. He is gone. The only thing I'm sorry is the friend next to me. Consciousness returned to the former Minato class. Awkwardly, he put himself in danger again and again. It was also Mrs. Minato who rescued him again and again. He didn't remember these. Instead, what he remembered was that he stood in front of the other party without recognizing his identity, remembering that he hadn't rushed to his side twice. Tell him to treat him as a companion and successor. Is it difficult? Obito has turned into powder. The tearing of the soul made his body eventually disappear. Such people don't need him to say something. Perhaps for Obito, leaving this world to an infinite dream is the best ending. Dare to love and hate to have their own ideals. This is Uchiha Obito. As for recognition like Naruto, sorry, Bajian really can't do it. Companion, successor? Madara snorted and shook her head. He couldn't say such words after all, he was not Senju Hashirama. Impure world reincarnation. Untie, Pure Land is where the dead souls should go. In the distance, before leaving, Orochimaru made a seal to relieve impure world reincarnation. After all, only Madara was forced to release control, and Madara had used Nagato's wheel revolving heaven to resurrect. Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama did not terminate the contract, but the sacrifice of Orochimaru could not restrain Senju Hashirama's actions, and the contract still exists. Looking hurriedly at the big pillar shining on her body, Madara opened her mouth. Sorry. Just without waiting for Hashirama to speak, the Senju Tobirama next to him coldly dumped 3 words, and then proudly rose. Probably this is the second master. His apology was not to Madara, but to the Uchiha clan. Perhaps until the moment he saw that the Uchiha clan was respected, he still couldn't believe that clan. But this late apology is justified. It's big. The big pillar in the sky just looked at the man he recognized with a gentle smile. Help me see the world more. Don't say a word after returning to the Pure Land. Also, go and see your name on the Konoha Glory contribution wall. Suddenly remembered something again, at the last moment. Senju Hashirama quickly looked at Yi Bajian. 5th generation, right Shao Gang. The task of revival is left to you. Come on. Gone is over. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 190. At this moment, he shines brightly. What do you mean by what your grandpa said before he left? The 2 Naruto of Impure World Reincarnation have been sent away. There is nothing to regret. All the people of the same age have returned to the dust, but Madara is still alive. But Hashirama knows that he does not need to worry about having Konoha of 5th Hokage Yi Bajian. They are dead people. The only option is to return to the Pure Land without worry. Watching them leave, Bajian looked at Tsunade, who was blushing next to him, and asked. The mission of the revival of the clan? Which family? What does revival mean? And also, is it over? Who is it? Bajian was a little confused. You will know later. It seems to have entered the final stage. You should go back soon. The test is still going on. When I left, Tsunade coughed. Don't talk about this. Chunin test. Finished. Tsunade turned away with Orochimaru, who was locked. Ren Niu has a new pursuit. Orochimaru felt that it seemed not bad to live like this. Just change the direction of scientific research, but it is still what he wants to do. It's different from the old man of 3rd generation. Just now Bajian-kun said that my value and the meaning of existence. This sentence is enough to arouse his sense of identity. Do you work for Konoha? Let's do this first. The Gate of True Immortality is really exciting. People left one after another, and the Night Owl team also went to the examination room. Kagaya has returned to the spiritual space. Everything seemed to settle down. Naruto rocked. Only Bajian and Uchiha Madara were standing on it. Black Zetsu hid on the rock behind him and listened carefully because he was afraid that Madara would beat him up. What do you plan to do with me? After a long silence, Madara looked at Yi Bajian. No doubt. This is a magic kid. No, the current self is not worthy to call the other party an imp. He had felt this man's pupil technique with his own body before, and it was an ability that could freeze time. Even Rinnegan doesn't have this powerful function. As for the eyes, the age of the pupils that the other party had before surgery was just a number. This kind of strength really convinced Madara how to deal with Uchiha Madara. Bajien hugged his shoulders in deep thought. The problems of Orochimaru, Uchiha Madara, and Akatsuki have been solved, and Nagato let go of the round. Revolving Heaven also left peacefully. Obito's words choose to explode in place, don't want to look at the world again, and would rather live by yourself. In the dreams that I have created. In this way, the next thing to do is much simpler. First, by taking the Chunin exam, the power of the ninja world will be completely integrated, and all other ninja villages will become Konoha's affiliates. Accept the same management system as Konoha, under other ninja village levels. Minato is already doing this, so don't worry about Bajien. Second, in the future, the details, changes and development of the huge machine in the ninja world. Bajien has already prepared this plan, and only needs to wait for the remaining 10% of the intermediate forces to express their views. Third, clean up unfilial children Ōtsutsuki Hagoromo and Ōtsutsuki Hamura. They think that the way of existence of the soul and chakra hides in the Pure Land, but Bajien can't help them. Sorry, he is Shinigami, and the Pure Land is exactly Bajien's home. It is necessary to recover the Ashura Chakra and Indra Chakra from Sage of Six Paths, otherwise this. I am afraid that the upper limit of Naruto and Sasuke is only that high. He needs high-end combat power, especially to develop a high-limit combat power, so that barriers can be broken in the future. Bring a ninja to sweep other worlds to gain momentum. Fourth. That is the most critical point. Glancing at his template progress, Bajien took a deep breath from the advanced tasks that popped up before. Tone. The others are nothing new. Zaraki Kenpachi, the first template among the 3 templates, has been unlocked to 65%. The other is this task. Open black lens bracket crown as king. Close black lens bracket task content. The Ōtsutsuki clan regards the earth as their nursery, but the new king is about to be crowned and declares. The time to sue the sovereignty has arrived, and no means will be restricted to eliminate all hidden dangers on the earth. This task is the ultimate task of Naruto world, unlimited time, unlimited way. Task reward. 100,000 flat points, open the first step of the Zanpakuto solution advanced task, officially. Crowned to become the leader of the Naruto world, additional reward, unknown. Crowned as king. The meaning is obvious. Although Bajien has completed the unification at this moment, he is only a ninja tyrant, and the land under his feet is still accompanied by danger. The content of the mission is to declare sovereignty and eliminate hidden dangers on the earth. For the time being, the only hidden danger is the Ōtsutsuki trio. The U-Shell organization hasn't surfaced yet, and Bajien can't find them. This is a threat hidden in the depths. Silently glanced at the item card in the system backpack, Bajien squinted his eyes and patted Madara. Shoulders. It's so big, if someone points to your nose and tells you, the age of ninjas is over. Well, if he said that, what do you think, is the age of ninjas over? Madara frowned in confusion. Looking ahead, Konoha village is gaining momentum, and Yi Bajien has clearly become the number. What does it mean that the era of Japanese ninjas is over? 1. Surpassed the strongest of all generations of Hokage. In detail, some people don't obey the discipline and feel that the era of cosmetic contact lenses is over. The next thing they want to do is tattoos. Then he threatened to destroy the world, not what Jonin meant. Bajien calmly explained and threw the Konoha forehead protector he had prepared in his arms to Uchiha. Destroy the world? Madara's eyes flashed with confusion, but soon the confusion was replaced by Madara's prestige. If I can't destroy the world, why should others touch this land? Is the age of ninjas over? Who gave him the courage to say such a thing? The forehead protector was slowly tied to her forehead. Madara had killing intent in her eyes. Hashirama said, let me look at the world more, in that case. Use your hands hard, and the forehead protector is completely tied to death. I'm still a ninja, is that so? Bajien knew it? Sure enough, anyone with a forehead protector, I can't stand it anymore. Why did the age of ninja end? Is it your uncle Madara that can't dance anymore? Bajien grinned. In this case, wait for me for a while, and then show you the person who said this. But before that, you first adjust to Konoha's life. Take it. He took out a broom and a pair of sunglasses and handed it to Madara. Bajien pointed to the central square below. Cleaning the square in Konoha is the envious job of everyone, because you can look at the wall of merits from time to time. By the way, you can also settle down your mentality and feel the Konoha at this moment with your heart. Is it right? Toward the peace. All that should be said. Standing up, Bajien turned and left, immersed in the system backpack to check the attributes of the thing. Story style experience the Cabot biography. Use this card to lead 2 people to Legend of Parallel World and experience its plot. Please note that the plot is everything that happens in the real space. Your actions will change the trend of the plot, and you can also choose to bring the loot into the original world. The strength of entering the plot will not be affected, please enjoy it freely. Priced at 10,000 square meters and cut points. Note. If you experience death in the plot, you will be transported back to the original world to stop experiencing the plot. This card will also obsolete, so please use it when the strength is sufficient. This thing. He was prepared by Bajian to fight the final task of being crowned king. After all, for the Ōtsutsuki clan, only the Ōtsutsuki trio is known. That shell tissue, Kawaki, and Ōtsutsuki, where the second 10 tails were, he didn't know. Therefore, the plot experience card is used to get acquainted with those enemies, understand their combat effectiveness and weaknesses, then learn about the enemies in the experience card, and then return to this world to deal with the coming Ōtsutsuki clan. Know the roots. According to legend, the Ōtsutsuki clan per capita 6 paths. Bajian does not know whether it is true or not. This card is necessary to use it. Parallel worlds can also be regarded as new worlds. There, the plot trend is the same as the original, with Naruto as the hero as the background board, telling about his stupid son Bo-Ren. Well, press the head of the blogger and let him release Tsukuyomi, crazy, let him watch Shippuden, let him understand that his father has arrived. What kind of existence is at the end? This kind of thing. Bajian really wanted to do it too much, however, the props have already said that this thing should be used when the strength is sufficient. The combat effectiveness of Ōtsutsuki is temporarily unknown, so Bajian intends to use the next time to improve the template progress. At least the 2 templates must be evolved to 100%, so that they will have enough confidence to face the body. Verify everything in the card. In short, it is based on the enemies in the experience card and prepares to deal with the enemies of the original world in the future. Simple. Coincidentally, Bajian also has tattoos, which is the perfect tattoo. Sweep the floor. On Naruto, Madara picked up her sunglasses and touched the broom. He is Uchiha Madara, he has never done such a job as sweeping the floor. But now, he wants to try. By the way, take a look at Konoha's wall of glory and merit. Speaking of which, I made the name of this village. Standing up, jumping off the Hokage rock, Madara stepped towards the wall of merit. Because there are not many people who can be called the leader, Madara quickly found her name on the wall of merit. Uchiha Madara, one of Konoha's pioneers. The Chunin exam is still going on. But this time, Bajian didn't end up making trouble. The problem has been completely solved and those genin also thoroughly saw his combat effectiveness. If Bajian goes off the field, I am afraid that people do not have the desire to fight, but it is not good. The purpose of the Chunin exam has been achieved. Bajian was very willing to sit on the high platform and watch the feeling of Konoha's Cenozoic full swinging his fist below. He is not old, it's just that the mentality has changed. In the second round of the Dead Forest qualifiers, the final result did not surprise Bajian. Everyone who should be promoted in the original book was promoted. But what surprised Bajian was that in the battle between Junior Sakura and Ino, it was unexpected that Ino took the initiative to abstain. At the end of the qualifiers, Naruto and Sasuke happily rushed to Bajian and bowed respectfully. The position has been firmly seated, it's just a ritual. And the appearance of him guarding the village makes people extremely discounted. As his disciple, Sasuke also felt the pride that Itachi said. See it? That is his master. Looking at Bajian's gaze, Naruto is very envious. Brother, I will definitely surpass you in the future and become Hokage. Naruto was the same Naruto and was not hit by the rise of Bajian. Will do. Patting his head, Bajian stood up. Minato, who was busy spinning in the distance, walked over with dark circles under his eyes. Fortunately, all the information is integrated, and then just send Anbu Ninja to receive it. The information on hundreds of ninja villages is not so easy to organize. Minato doesn't worry about other people doing it. As a teacher of Bajian, he said that he would give the powerful Konoha to his disciples. Obviously, he has done his best. Now is the time. Your Yan is already being carved, and the handover ceremony will begin in about 3 days. By then you will be the real 5th Hokage. After speaking in one breath, Minato stretched out his hand in relief, seeming to want to rub Bajian's head. But when he put his hand in the air, he suddenly realized that it seemed a little inappropriate. He has grown up, has become Konoha's 5th Hokage. This kind of thing seems inappropriate. A little embarrassed, he wanted to retract his palm, but the man in front of him grabbed his wrist and placed it on his head. I don't have parents, but I want to celebrate being 5th Hokage. Call Anko in the evening and have a meal together. Letting go of Minato's hand and turning around and walking down the steps, Bajian's last smile is particularly warm. As expected of you, there is no need to talk too much between men. Minato smiled, feeling a little moist in his eyes. Father, why are you crying? Naruto asked puzzledly. When you grow up, you will understand. Pat Naruto's head, Minato has returned to normal. But Naruto, if you want to be a qualified Naruto in the future, there is still a lot to learn. Just like my father, I used to think that by blindly solving problems with tenderness, I can protect everyone. Even sometimes, I don't take the initiative to express my opinions, and I'm not worried. Looking at Bajian's back with some nostalgia, Minato took a deep breath and patted Naruto's shoulder hard. The combination of rigidity and softness is the real approach. Bajian's dealing with people is enough for you to study for a lifetime. This is from Namikaze Minato's highest evaluation of Yi Bajian. 3 days later, with the help of Chunan's exam. It was just getting bright. Countless crowds came to Konoha's central square. In addition to the ninjas and villagers in the village, all those ninjas waiting for the Chunin exam competition are also in place. Nowadays, it was the inauguration ceremony of 5th Hokage. He will take over the Hokage cloak from 4th Hokage and take over the responsibility of protecting the village. Pass on the will of fire on his body. At the corner of the central square, a cleaner with sunglasses has attracted the attention of many people. Especially there were two nine-tails adults standing beside him. This situation is enough to attract attention. Little Madara sauce. The two Kuramas leaned together and calmly looked at the man cleaning the cows in front of him and shouted. You got in the way. Madara took a cold look at Nine Tails. Before changing, he would definitely shout out one by one brute. But obviously, the status of Konoha Nine Tails is higher than him. He could not understand, but this is the fact. Cut, it's still so cold. Nine Tails curled his mouth, his chubby belly collided with each other to clear the way. When Madara left, he immediately laughed and barked. Damn, did you see it? Madara is sweeping, ha ha ha, my uncle is blind. The play stopped suddenly. Dawn officially arrived. With the sun shining completely on the square, a person walked out of the platform above the Hokage building. In an instant, the square became silent. Facing the wind and walking all the way to the extreme edge, the man took a deep breath and let out a roar, reaching out his hand below. Konoha. It's the first ninja village, the golden Ryotsu skyrocketed. Now. Brilliant, peas. Well, the next few chapters are transitioning, cultivating feelings, integrating the daily plots of the ninja world, closing. Pick up Sage of Six Paths, and then go to the blogger to pass it to the blogger to see Shippuden. After pretending a circle, you can learn more about it with Hanabi and then return to the original world to clean up the Ōtsutsuki thoroughly. As for the people who took the blog, Madara and Itachi, I still want someone to come out and put the summoning technique directly. What do readers think? Don't worry if you write on your behalf, you won't do that, it will only slow down the update. Please forgive me. 10. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.